want to be tired. I started using Balance of Nature about 1.5 years ago, noticed the results immediately, and I went, oh my gosh, this works. This is what I've been missing all my life. I'm loving life actually more than I ever have. I missed my va-va voom. I got it back.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. See why Kathy Lee Gifford and thousands of others have had life-changing success with Balance of Nature. Take advantage of our New Year's offer while you still can. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. That's 1-800-246-8751 and get $25 off plus a free fiber and spice when you use discount code KLG.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Zero Res Carpet Cleaning. Happy New Year on behalf of Zero Res. And they are celebrating the new year by giving you a great January deal. Get this, 23% off all of our services. Of course, carpet cleaning, pre-treated and Zero Res clean with the 30-day gotta love it guarantee, upholstery, air ducts, anything that you need in your home that's going to make it more beautiful, more healthy, more livable for the winter months coming up. If your New Year's resolution has anything to do with just improving your home and improving your quality of life, which of course most of us do, check out Zero Res. We have a 4.9 rating on Google with over 4,300 reviews. Once again, big news. DGS special for January 2023 is 23% off all services. Call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com. Happy New Year.
When you hear Diamonds Direct, it's not just a catchy name designed to give the illusion of value. Our name is who we really are. Diamonds Direct was started by diamond cutters a quarter of a century ago. At our very core is a commitment to cut out the middleman and deliver extreme value in exquisite diamonds. Today, that's more true than ever, with our direct access to diamonds straight from the mines. Diamonds that we then cut and polish. Exquisite diamonds up to 15 and 20 carats in all shapes and sizes. It's an advantage other jewelers only dream of. By overseeing the entire process, we know for a fact Diamonds Direct is truly direct. So this year, as value becomes more important than ever, rest assured that Diamonds Direct's unique status in the world diamond market guarantees you the best no middleman direct importer price, period. And even with this extreme value promise, at Diamonds Direct, you still get an unbeatable selection, transparent education, a luxurious shopping experience, superior customer service, no compromises. It's not having a cool name or clever advertising, it's the truth. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
Local news and information direct to your smart speaker. Just say, play KMOX.
Amy and Chris on KMOX until 1 o'clock. Dave Glover comes in then. We hang out for the 1 o'clock hour. It's how we always do it. Hopefully you're listening on the Odyssey app, and you can catch the show wherever you are on your phone, in your car, if you're in Oregon. If you're in Brazil right now and you have a front row seat to what is happening or what did happen yesterday, as supporters of Jair Bolsonaro stormed government buildings in protest. And Amy, I was watching the images yesterday, and I couldn't help. I mean, my first thought is this looks exactly like what happened at the Capitol building 2 years ago. It was exact. There was the crowd, and there were police barricades, and slowly the people started to tear through the barricades. Then they went into the office, and they found themselves in government chambers, and they started destroying things. The only difference was that their government wasn't present. They weren't in session, so they weren't hiding for their lives like many of the people in our government were doing on January 6th, 2 years ago.
Yeah, it looked exactly like it, and in many ways it was. It was a January 6th moment. You had supporters of a former president claiming that the duly elected president was illegitimate because of a rigged and stolen election. And what these protesters thought they were going to accomplish by storming the Capitol, I don't know. In the same way that I have no idea what January 6th protesters actually thought they were going to accomplish. A part of me thinks while there was a lot of planning on our January 6th with the zip ties and the body armor, it was a lot of LARPing, a lot of role playing where, I don't know, a lot of people climbed from their basements. I know it sounds terrible, but I just picture like guys that came out of their basement with all of their paramilitary gear, pseudo patriots, ersatz bravery, that they were going out to the Capitol, but didn't think past that. Did they think, guys, we have constitutional authority here. they were chanting hang Mike Pence. Was that their idea? Did they say, yeah, we're going to go to the Capitol and hang the vice president of the United States? Just the ignorance of everyone involved who stormed our Capitol on January 6th. I don't know. Same mentality in Brazil. It looked very similar. They overwhelmed security forces. They inflicted a lot of damage, but there's no constitutional authority. The protesters have no legitimacy. The military was able to, and law enforcement able to get things back under control. Bolsonaro is in Florida hiding from
out.
Yeah, the
But he
investigations.
left before this happened.
He did. And he did condemn the violence.
Yeah.
Since.
But there have, well, wow. I'm glad but that's a departure.
Mhm.
There are people a lot of people who, you called it LARPing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who like the idea of thinking of themselves as freedom fighters.
Mhm.
And this is, I feel like in this country, those people have come out of the woodwork in a huge way in the last few years. Like, I'm fighting freedom against wearing masks. I'm
Mhm.
fighting freedom against tyranny. Like, there's tyranny in this country. And it's absurd, but I think people like that idea of thinking that they are pushing back against oppression of themselves, but they're not oppressed. There are people who think that they are. I also think that our January 6th, there were, I will defend some people who were down there, because I do think there were some people who just kind of got caught up in the excitement. Doesn't excuse it. I mean, if you did something wrong at the Capitol building, you should be punished for it. Sorry, you should. If they catch you, you should be punished. But I do think there were people who didn't go down there with the intent
Sure.
that was going to happen. But you had a lot of Oath Keeper types and Proud Boy types who knew exactly what they were going to do on that day. My question about what happened in Brazil yesterday is, does that happen if January 6th here doesn't happen? Are those people, were they inspired by what was occurring here 2 years ago on our Capitol after a conservative president, very similar to Bolsonaro in the way they operate? Does that happen if he doesn't say all the things he did and incite all the people in the way he did, and then everybody stormed the building? I don't know. And look, I know that civil unrest has happened all over the world all the time. It happens. It's not unusual. But I'm not sure that Brazil happens yesterday without our January 6th.
Yeah, I don't know. And that would be to talk to someone down there in Brazil and say, what was the narrative here on January 6th? How much did people talk about what happened in the United States? Because I can tell you this, when January 6th happened here, I mean, it was shocking. It was appalling. It was horrific. When you saw what was going on at the Capitol, a quick side note, yes, if you were in the very back of the thousands of people, we talked to reporters who were way back behind the crowd down the mall. You had no idea what was going on in the front. I get that, fine. But we're talking about the people who stormed the Capitol and knew darn well what they were doing and the damage they were inflicting and chanting, hang Mike Pence. If you saw that happen in another country, you would think this is an unstable country and an unstable government. And it happened in the United States. And now it's happening in Brazil. And guess what? You're thinking, this looks very unstable. And Bolsonaro, and it's Da Silva, the president now. I mean, they're
Lula.
Yes, they are.
Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well done. These are not your United States Democratic and Republicans. It's a different politics. It's a different country. Yes, a set of values. But what Lula da Silva is not doing is he's not trying to stage a coup.
No, he's not. And I'm sorry, but I do believe sometimes things we do here inspire other countries. I think a lot of other people in a lot of other countries follow our lead, rightful or not. I think they do. I think they look to us to see how we behave, and then they go along with it, or they are inspired to behave similarly. And that goes for a lot of things. It could be culture, it could be government, it could be sports. I don't know.
You can't say that the United States is a city on a hill and say that other countries are only watching the good things that we do.
No,
they're also watching the ugly things.
We need to cut this crap out here. We need to inspire the rest of the world. Not like that, though. Amy and Chris on the show on KMOX.
The 26th Annual Cardinals Care Winter Warm-Up returns this coming weekend to Busch Stadium in Ballpark Village. Current and former players and coaches will be on hand, including MVP Paul Goldsmith, Nolan Arenado, Adam Wainwright, and the newest Cardinal, Wilson Contreras. Tickets on sale now at Cardinals.com. Can't be there in person? KMOX will broadcast live from Cardinals Nation Restaurant all 3 days, starting Saturday at 10. The Cardinals Care Winter Warm-Up live on KMOX and KMOX.com. If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at LanceDruryLaw.com.
When you hire your local CertaPro painters, you get the power of a cut above. Decades of expertise to transform your home. From so-so to virtuoso. The power of neighborhood painters. We live where you live and probably like the same pizza place you do. Put the power of pro to work for you today. Get your project started at CertaPro.com.
Each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated.
At 10:30, we have sunny skies. It is 38 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Carol Daniel. After an epic 15-ballot election to become House Speaker, Republican Kevin McCarthy faces his next big test in governing, a fractious slim majority. That could come today when lawmakers are set to consider a rules package to govern the House. At least 12 people are dead following a series of storms over the last week and a half. Torrential downpours and damaging winds have battered many parts of California. Governor Gavin Newsom is urging people to stay home, saying this week's storms could be even more dangerous. Rick Montanez with KCAL is in Ventura, California. He says there's concern of mudslides and avalanches because the ground is so saturated.
The expectation with this storm is about 2 to 4 inches. That's what we received in some areas over the end of last week. And of course, we've had back-to-back storms. So when you add all of this up, the ground is very saturated. So there is a lot of worry for those mountain and foothill communities as well.
More than 7,000 nurses went on strike today in New York after contract negotiations ended without a resolution for all hospitals. Other negotiations continued through the weekend. New guidelines suggest children struggling with obesity should be evaluated and treated early and aggressively. The American Academy of Pediatrics says treatments can include medication for kids as young as 12 and surgery for those as young as 13. And taking a look at the commute. There's a crash 64 westbound past Route K. Be prepared to stop. That could be impacting traffic for another hour. And there's a crash 170 southbound before Forest Park Parkway. The KMOX forecast sponsored by Mers Goodwill. Sunny and mild. The high could hit 56. Partly cloudy tonight. The low of 38. We could hit 60 by Tuesday and Wednesday. Right now it's sunny and 38 degrees downtown at the Arch. Donate your vehicle today to Mers Goodwill and get 4 field box tickets to a 2023 Cardinals game. It's easy and towing is free. Donate online at mersgoodwill.org. Use promo code Cardinals. Give hope, give local, give goodwill. I'm Carol Daniel, KMOX News.
Welcome to No Mercy, hosted by yours truly, Stephen A. Smith. For the first time in my career, I have complete, unadulterated freedom to say my piece on a whole host of different topics: news, politics, pop culture, social justice. Look for my podcast on big topics making headlines across the country, as well as unfiltered conversations with celebrities like Charlamagne the God, Jake Paul, Dana White, Snoop Dogg, and more. Listen to No Mercy, spelled K-N-O-W, Mercy, a presentation of Cadence 13 and Odyssey Studio, available now on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcast.
Broadcasting from the Underlaw Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
What if everything you got came with a little bit of money? Spicy chicken ramen with a side of quarters, a full tank of gas, and a $5 bill, an entire pantry's worth of groceries, and a pocket full of cash. Well, then you'd be living life on the upside. The first platform that gives you real cash back in real life wherever you roll. Restaurants, grocery stores, gas stations, all cashback opportunities. So order the expensive appetizer, buy a little extra at the store, fill your gas tank till the pump stops. Because with Upside, you can. Start earning cashback just for doing you. Download the free Upside app and use promo code SPICY for an extra $10 cashback on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's promo code SPICY, promo code SPICY, SPICY, for an extra $10 on the free Upside app. Start living life on the upside with the free Upside app.
Your home of the Cardinals.
Arenado swings and hits it deep to left field. That ball is out of here.
The Billikens.
Jumper. Yes! Billikens win!
The Chiefs.
Touchdown! Kansas City!
We are America's sports voice. KMOX.
Amy Marks, Torres, and Chris Ranji on the show today on this wonderful Monday. Amy doesn't know how to turn off her microphone. So,
well, I asked her, are we getting a lot of hate on the text line? Because generally, if we talk about January 6th, some of the hateful texts come in. But
we get that real cranky old guy
there's
that
a
leaves
really
a
cranky
voicemail.
old guy, and he gets so mad
I think
and
we're
he
his only
hates
friends.
me.
He really hates you.
He really hates you. So that's what I was asking about.
don't
Is
like
we're
me
getting a lot
either.
of hate on the text line.
But he really hates you.
He really hates me. But we
Amy
didn't.
Marks, Kors, you call yourself a conservative? I listen to the voicemails and go, I love this guy.
He does.
I get the emails when we get a voicemail.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm
You're
on
on top of it.
vacation last week.
Oh.
And I'm getting emails like, oh, here's our old friend. And I listen to it and I play it for all of my friends. Like this guy, he voicemails our show all the time.
He hates me.
He really does hate you.
Yeah.
He feels like you have betrayed him.
Yeah.
Because you're not insane. And so that bothers him. He wants you to have been at the Capitol building.
Yes. I'm not an anti-conservative MAGA populist.
But
I'm old school, conservative,
Classic.
classical conservative. Classical liberal is what it's called, but people don't know what that means. But it's a conservative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Small government.
Yeah, which is nonsense, but that's what you think.
That's right.
That's how you think things should be. The only text we've really gotten in regard to that specific issue is from Big Blonde Dan, who says, well said, you two.
No, thanks, Big Blonde Dan.
This guy agrees with us, but
Yeah.
other people probably don't.
And here's the thing. Ranj posed the question, would we have seen Brazil, the protesters, storm the Capitol in the same way without January 6th in the United States? I don't know, maybe. I mean, I am not denying Brazil has a long history of very unstable government.
Yeah.
Even the democratic institutions they have right now are so fragile and so brittle that it's impressive that they held. I mean, this is something that the United States, when everything fell apart in January 6th, as far as not the country, but with storming the Capitol and people distrusting the elections, the center held. Ultimately, our system of government held. Mike Pence was a big part of that, standing in the gap. With Brazil, I mean, they just emerged out of dictatorship in the 80s. This is new democracy in Brazil, very new. This is, again, a different democracy. It looks a little bit different in Brazil than it does here. I am not pretending that it was a stable government, but it did hold. It did hold because ultimately, again, that populist mob violence, there's no legitimacy to it. There's no authority to it. It can cause a lot of damage, but once it's tamped down, that's all it is it creates damage and instability, but there's no authority to it.
They have had in Brazil protests. They've had lots of protests. Nothing like what happened yesterday has happened before, though, at least not in recent memory. So this is a very different thing. And I think they were inspired. I think people there.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm making an assertion, but I believe it. I believe it to be true that people there who are like-minded in a quote unquote conservative way saw what happened here over 2 years ago and how our government responded to it. And I think they thought, okay, that's us too. And as friendly as Bolsonaro and Trump were with each other, I think there's a lot. And you have people like Steve Bannon who were talking directly to the Brazilian people, telling them to continue the fight. And I'm paraphrasing, but it's that sort of, he was just doing it recently last week.
Yeah.
So I think it does matter. And I think it did incite people there, at least to an extent.
And also, when we use the word conservatism is the only political philosophy that is purely contextual. Conservatism in the United States looks different than the conservatism in the UK and the conservatism in Brazil. when you look at Bolsonaro, you're not going, there's Mitch McConnell's twin. That's not what we're talking about. You do have the current president, very, very progressive leftist. Bolsonaro he met with the socialist president of Peru, who tried to stage his own coup. He's allied with our geopolitical adversaries. So to be clear here, Bolsonaro's position politically is not should not be viewed through the same American lens of those terms.
No, you're right about that. If
It's
we're
the
getting
only
really,
political.
if
Well,
we're
yeah,
getting really specific about it, I think you're right.
because people go, "Oh, he's a conservative. That explains it." No, that's not what that means.
I don't think it's not accidental that all of these people happen to be like-minded. It just isn't. This happened yesterday, I think, in large part because they are watching. Like, hey, if this happened in America, if we could do this, if they could do that in America, we could do that here too.
Okay, to clarify,
that's what I think.
What do you mean when you say it's not surprising that all of these people are like-minded? What people?
Bolsonaro,
and
Trump,
what people in what way?
like that, people who follow those two, who believe in a more authoritarian kind of government.
Which, to be clear, is the exact opposite of conservatism. That's why
No,
you
but these
have to
people-
be careful with the word.
You're right, but they are considered conservatives now.
Yeah. And that's why, again, because it's the only philosophy that's purely contextual. What are you conserving? Right? That's what you're asking. And so with Trump, he was able to use the right, but he's always had a bizarre fascination with dictators and autocrats and people who, like, as you mentioned, exert extreme centralized authority.
And there are people, average people, who love that. Like, I can't imagine ever wanting to live in a country where the government is that. Like, I wouldn't want that. But usually I think those people who like it, so people who follow Trump or Bolsonaro, I think those people like it because the authoritarian, the other end of the stick happens to people they don't like. Like, the people who suffer the consequences are people they don't like and don't agree with politically. So they like it. They like to see the other side get theirs.
And again, I'm not splitting hairs. I just think when you have this conversation, because words matter and language matters, and people don't take the time, I think, to know what they believe, what the words mean. Trump, yes, had a weird fascination with Vladimir Putin, a weird fascination with Kim Jong-un. I think he has a picture of him in his office or something. Just very bizarre. But Trump is not Putin. Trump is not Kim Jong-un. There is a difference, and I think when people try to say he is that person, no, he's not.
I think he would.
He's not going to kill millions of people.
No.
He's not going to create
do that.
genocide. And I think it just because he is bizarre and he's taken by the power and the pomp and circumstance and all of the attention and, again, really power that they exert. He's not thinking, yeah, I would like to kill millions of people. He's not going to do that. He's not Putin.
I don't know that. I don't look.
Come on.
You don't think it's
Trump
possible
would-
hold on. You don't
No.
think it's possible that in the back of his mind, he's like, I would love to do whatever I wanted to the people who disagree with
No.
me. I think you're absolutely wrong about that.
No. Do you know how
I think you're 100%
sick
wrong
and
about
evil you have to be? That there's no way to
Maybe not kill, but imprison at least. I think he would love to imprison. I think.
You know who did that? Woodrow Wilson. He had the Sedition
I
Act.
don't give a crap about
No,
Woodrow
what I'm saying
Wilson.
is,
We're
like,
talking
if
about
you
now.
imprison like a dozen people, he's still not Putin. And just like when people would always go like, "Oh, he's Hitler." Like, do you know how bad you can be before you're Hitler?
That doesn't
you
mean
can
they're
be
not
really,
hold
really
on a
bad.
second. I'm not saying he's Hitler. I'm not saying that.
And that's what I'm saying.
But
He's not
I'm
Putin.
saying that there's a you can be like-minded with somebody without actually carrying out the action or not going as far as the action. You can have an admiration for that. And I think there is probably a huge part of him that admires it, that admires a guy that could do it. And Kim Jong, same thing. I think he admires the fact those guys can operate the way they do, where there's no opposition to them whatsoever, and they can do whatever they want to their opponents and anybody who disagrees with them. I think
But I think when you're a narcissist, you can categorize it. So he is not, I guarantee you, Trump is not thinking, I would murder 1 million people if I could. He's not thinking that. He's thinking, I like power. And that's all he's thinking. He categorizes and compartmentalizes all of these
No,
things.
I don't think he has the guts to actually go through with murdering 1 million people.
He's not going to do. He doesn't want to.
No.
He wants to be a
guts for that.
superstar. He wants to be on TV.
Yeah, and he wants to eliminate all opposition, which there's still just because you don't actually physically want to go out and murder people doesn't mean you don't have like-mindedness with them.
But I think
there's plenty of like-minded. But anyway.
Yeah, I think when we're looking at these conversations, you can look at where what happened in Brazil mirrors what happened in the United States January 6th. Very much the optics of it look the same. But I also think meaningful distinctions and understanding that Trump is, was a narcissist. He loved the spotlight, but he is not on the same level of Bolsonaro. If you had to say, okay, one of those guys has to be president, Bolsonaro or Trump, or Putin, Kim Jong-un, Bolsonaro or Trump, I think we all know one of them is not quite as bad. He uses rhetoric and he created a lot of damage. But it's important to make those distinctions when you're having this conversation.
A texter from a 314 says, you're kidding yourself if you don't think that Donald Trump would become power drunk if allowed to get that far to the point where he would kill people. Look, I don't know about that. But I think if you're in power for long enough and it's uncontested power, I don't know that eventually you wouldn't slip into that. Maybe you start with, well, I'm going to silence my opposition, to I'm going to jail my opposition, to, well, maybe I'll have to off a few people here and there.
I think the same people who argue against slippery slopes in other area realize that. Would Trump throw Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi in jail? Yeah, because he would do that.
Yes, he would.
Would he cause the genocide of 2 million people? No. And if you were telling me that throwing Hillary Clinton in jail and the genocide of 2 million people is a slippery slope, I would call you out and say, that's not the slippery slope we have to worry about.
I don't know, man. I disagree with you. I think
I'm not saying it's right to throw them in jail.
I'm
saying there's a difference.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to say that eventually he might get to that point. He's not there right now, but maybe eventually he does. You're listening to the show. That's Amy Marks, Kors, and Chris Ranji. Hey, did you see this?
What?
Coming up next.
What really matters to you? At Archwell Health, that's what matters to us. When Linda told her doctor about the trip her family planned for her 70th birthday, our team worked together to improve her mobility. Then there's Shirley, who wanted to lose a little weight. She and her doctor chose an Archwell Health exercise class, and her dietitian also had a few ideas. We're here to help you live your life to the fullest, because you are more than a patient. Join today at archwellhealth.com/livewell.
God, I'm so stressed. It's a brand new year and our business is busier than ever.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin, up your soft on the party. Let's just so roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistibly soft and hella nice. The grip is always tucked. It's our party vibe. It's crushing everything, so our cheeks feel fine. So what? Everybody wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Mike Capel here, serial entrepreneur with words from another happy payroll customer.
I've used it for a year now, and I've worried 0 time. I just enter in the time, it's calculated, and it's taken out of bank account, and it's just done. I love it.
Visit us at patriotsoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll free. That's patriotsoftware.com.
Accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Are you tired of exposing your retirement to stock market risk? How would you like the potential to participate in credited interest from market index returns and limit the downside? Join me, Ben Coons, for the Retirement and Income Radio Show heard here every Saturday at 3 p.m. on KMOX Radio. You can also call me now for your complimentary retirement and income book at 844-513-SAFE. That's 844-513-7233.
Track your blood donations right from the palm of your hand and stay updated on special promotions. Download the American Red Cross Blood Donor app today. To learn more, go to redcross.org.
The show, sponsored by Straight Realty, your St. Louis area experts. Why pay more than 314-441-4444. Amy Marks Course.
This is my show, my microphone.
On the show.
I'm so sorry, Amy.
Whatever.
This is my show.
Oh, gosh.
My radio
Now
show.
the people who hate us are coming out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought we were getting support.
Did you see this, Amy? You didn't see the text line.
No, I didn't. I try not to look at it
Here's
too
a
much.
texter who says, I almost forgot to turn off the show until the daily Trump bashing guy started babbling. I guess that's me.
But thank you for turning on the show every day.
Yeah, thank you for turning it on.
I appreciate it.
They'll be back. By the way, Donald Trump loves this show.
Hey, I said Trump was not Putin or Hitler, so I was standing up.
Yeah, you stuck up for Donald Trump. You said he's not Putin or Hitler.
That's right.
I think that's really great. A 314 texter says Trump wouldn't do it, and by it, we're talking about in prison and murdering people.
Which there's a difference. Woodrow Wilson imprisoned people.
Yeah. Will you stop with the Woodrow Wilson?
I can't stand that guy.
Nobody who gives a crap. He's been dead for how many years?
A while.
All right. Trump wouldn't do it, this texter says, but if he was done, if it was done defending him by people who love him, he would defend it.
No, I mean,
I don't
ultimately,
know.
there's
Maybe.
there's a difference when you have a worldview that is built on the elimination of groups of people versus just
Putting them in prison?
being a spotlight. You know what? That's
Yeah.
all he is. He wants the spotlight. He'll
my
do whatever
argument-
gets him in the spotlight.
My argument is I don't know what he would become if he was given power like that for 15
I
to
don't-
20 years, but I'm saying is I don't think it's entirely off the table.
I don't give him that much credit because while he is incredibly narcissistic, he's also profoundly lazy. He is. He's profoundly lazy.
You just have other people do it for you.
Okay. What else did you see, Ranj?
Oh gosh, I lost my thing. I had it and then I lost it. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
This is because I started reading the text line and I think I actually closed it out. So now I can't remember. So you gotta tell me what you saw.
Okay, well, I saw this thing that is 52 things I learned in 2022.
Oh, yeah.
And there are random facts. Here's one. Parents usually hold babies with the child's head on the left because both parents and child's left eyes are controlled by the right hemisphere of the brain, which governs feelings of empathy and connection. This is true for all parents from every culture and even true of children of every culture when they hold dolls. Here's another fact.
Oh.
95% of mosh pits rotate counterclockwise.
Really?
Yeah. This is another one.
Wait, what? Dave's shaking his head. Producer Dave's like, yep, that's true.
It
But
says
what do you mean?
it's possibly related to like right-handedness versus left-handedness. And because right-handedness, you're doing this. You're rotating people
What?
counterclockwise. Yeah. 95% of mosh pits rotate counterclockwise.
When is the last time you've been in a mosh pit either? Well, Amy's never been in one.
It's been a
I've never
while.
been in one. Dave, you've been in a mosh pit?
Oh, many times, yeah.
Okay.
When I was younger, not anymore.
How are you still alive?
I ask myself the same question every day.
Here's one.
I mean, what?
I'm sorry. I've got so many things for you to see.
Okay.
In
Tell me what else you see.
In 2012, organizers of the Republican and Democratic national conventions tried to prevent delegates from bringing handguns onto the convention floor. But because of local laws, they were allowed only to ban water guns. Which actually would be kind of fun. The water guns. The super soakers.
I think that if that's what, like let's say that was our government, right?
Uh-huh.
Where you could fight it out with super soakers on the House floor.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yep.
That's how our government should operate. And by the way, let's talk a little bit about all of the votes on the House floor,
Mhm.
and how the camera work was extraordinary.
Because
you got so many different angles and
because
close-ups because there was no speaker.
because there were no rules.
There were no
The-
rules.
The House was not officially functioning, so the rules didn't count.
Other than the people who actually do the jobs,
Yep.
who would disagree with the idea of letting the cameras get close-ups on people on the House floor talking with one another,
Mhm.
and like the visuals that we saw, Matt Gaetz
Yeah.
talking to Kevin McCarthy, and then the dude walking up, and by the way, the guy from
Oh.
Alabama
Mm.
walking up and then he got like pie-faced. What was happening on the
Yeah.
House floor?
So it's interesting because on Friday I defended not miking up Congress people. However, the camera angles, as long as they're not mic'd up, I'm down. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody disagreeing with it. Like every bit of feedback I
Yeah.
saw was, this is awesome. We get to see faces, we get to see angles, we get to see a lot of what's going on the floor, and it's the people's house, right? Should we not be able to
Yeah.
see those things? We should be able to see the exchanges. There's no reason that we shouldn't be able to. But that's all going to go away now that we have a speaker. And it's not a Republican thing or a
No, no,
Democrat
no.
thing. It is just every speaker of the House has not allowed C-SPAN or the cameras to get close-ups of members of the House while they're on the floor. And I just think that's wrong.
Yeah, I like the different angles. Okay, Ranj, you're a tall guy.
Yeah.
Are you 6'3"?
2.
6'2". Okay. In the United States, 33% of men claim to be 6 feet or taller. However, only 14.5% of men are actually 6 feet or taller. Do you believe that? It says men who are 5'11" generally round up.
I can
believe
see that for sure.
I think so.
You know the thing about media guides, it's the old trope that every athlete in a media guide, whatever their listed height is, they're
Uh-huh.
actually an inch or two shorter. So like if you're looking at a basketball team's roster and it says this guy's 6'10", but he's
Mhm.
probably actually 6'9". But they
Yeah.
like to add an inch or two
I believe
just to make it more imposing on paper.
Okay, I had this conversation earlier with a friend how when I tell anybody anything, I pretty much assume, I say, okay, are you ready for the world to know this? Because people tell secrets, especially if you have a friend who goes, listen, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not supposed to tell anybody, but this is what I heard. Like as if this is the only time they've done that and you're special. No, if people say that to you, they say it about everything.
Yes.
People reveal about 26% of other people's secrets.
26%?
I think it's higher.
I do too.
I think
it's
it's
like
way
50.
higher. Yeah,
I think it's half.
I do too. At least half.
Do you know? Well, I know the answer.
I know what I should do. I
know the
put-
answer to you.
I should start a secret here and say, don't tell anyone, and see how long it takes for you to find out that secret on
That'd
someone
be
else.
amazing. I bet you have not told anybody else a secret. Text us to the show, 314-436-7900. How often do you give up secrets that are told to you when you're specifically told not to? I'd like to know. You're listening to the show. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji on KMOX.
I'm Brian Westbrook with Coalition Life. Over the past decade, Coalition Life has served thousands of women in crisis pregnancies, helping to save the lives of the children that they carry. Help us build a better community while also reducing or completely eliminating your Missouri taxes with a 70% tax credit. A $1,000 donation today to help these women could cost you as little as $141 out of pocket. Learn more at coalitionlife.com, coalitionlife.com. Thank you.
Hi, this is Kent Newbold for Newbold BMW. We just celebrated our 35th year as a BMW dealer by finishing our multi-million-dollar renovation. So come see it. It's Newbold BMW in O'Fallon, Illinois, or newboldbmw.com. You'll be sold on Newbold.
A couple do's and don'ts might help you for lower your energy cost this winter. Do's are windows and doors. You can put plastic. The hardware stores sell kits, so they do work. Major thing if you have an attic fan in your hallway in your house or on the second floor or in a bedroom, whatever, again, duct tape and plastic, because that's a major place where your heat is being sucked out of your house. Do not spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a furnace. If your house is not fit, what good would it do to put in an extremely high efficient furnace? But that's why you call me. If you're in doubt or if you're in need of a furnace for this winter, call me, Bart Inman, Bart with a B, Inman with an I. One easy number, Missouri and Illinois. It's 314-293-2600 or bartinman.com. Remember the B and the I. Bye.
KMOX, KECK HD2, K254CR, St. Louis.
The legendary voice of St. Louis, KMOX. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
You had a solid retirement dream, sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize, and travel. But inflation and recession has you wondering if all your hard-earned equity will still be there. What if you could recession-proof your equity right now? You can with Truehold. Truehold will buy your home for its best current value before a recession can erode it. You get to bank all the cash now and live in your home for as long as you want. And Truehold covers all property taxes, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. And since Truehold pays your home's current value in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you like. Don't wait for inflation, recession, and interest rates to erode your home's value. Visit Truehold.com and discover how much Truehold will buy your home for today based on its best current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without having to move. That's Truehold.com.
Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance, so you only pay for what you need. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Mid-America's most trusted source for news. KMOX.
At 11 o'clock, it's a sunny sky, 40 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun. Our top story this hour, 5 suspects under arrest after a shooting at the St. Charles Cracker Barrel early this morning.
This is Kevin Killeen. Police say the 52-year-old victim of the Cracker Barrel shooting, a worker who was taking out the trash at 5:30 in the morning. He was shot twice, once in the elbow and once in the buttocks. Maryland Heights police made the arrest. 5 suspects, all underage, caught in the desolate area of the Champ landfill. The getaway car had a flat, and they got out on foot and tried to run into the landfill, but police caught them.
A special grand jury in Georgia that's been looking into whether Donald Trump and allies committed any crimes while trying to overturn the 2020 election has finished its work.
The investigation began about 2 years ago after a recording surfaced of Trump on the phone with Georgia's top elections official.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
The special grand jury heard testimony from dozens of people, including close Trump associates and high-ranking state officials. The judge overseeing the panel says it has now issued a final report. That moves the investigation a step closer to possible criminal charges against the ex-president and others. It will be up to the district attorney to decide whether to seek an indictment from a regular grand jury. Sagar Magani, Washington.
The U.S. Supreme Court rejected an effort by a group of Republican state officials to revive a hardline immigration policy. Loyola law professor Lori Levinson says in this case, officials tried to invoke the public charge rule.
This is a rule under the Immigration Act that says if an individual is going to become a public charge because they're using too many government benefits, they're ineligible to be in the United States.
Road repairs are expensive, and in St. Louis City, repairing roads is often something that aldermen must pay for out of their ward money. Each alderman gets about $300,000 to $400,000 per year, depending on what needs fixing. That's often not enough.
For the group that says, gee, we need to do away with that and let the street department, which means that the mayor's office would control where all the money goes, I feel personally that that's not right.
That's Alderman Joe Vaccaro, who admits his ward is more compact while other wards have bigger roads to deal with. He says some aldermen may be holding on to their ward funds for several years to save up for big projects. The KMOX Business Desk, women lag behind men when it comes to financial literacy and when it comes to the C-suite of financial firms. Wendy Hartman is the first woman to head up St. Louis-based Buckingham Strategic.
It's really uncommon. Now, I do see that changing, but women continue to still be underrepresented. And I think that if we look even at stats in financial services industry, over half of women are taking on those new roles, like entry level roles, but still less than 10% hold that senior level role.
Hartman says things are changing where women are having open conversations about money and finances, a topic that used to be taboo to bring up. Hartman was a guest on Total Information AM. And the Dow from Stifel is up 238 points to 33,868. They've cleared the crash on 6440 West at Route K. There's still a crash on 270 North at Dorset on the right shoulder. They've cleared the crashes on I-170 South before Forest Park Parkway and past Page. And 67 North closed past the Missouri River. Watch out there. And the weather.
KMOX AccuWeather, mainly sunny, nice and mild this afternoon. Highs in the low to mid 50s, down to 38 tonight. And that mildness continues with some sunshine tomorrow and Wednesday, upper 50s to near 60. But chilly rain and highs in the 40s Thursday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Dean DeVore, the voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
We've got sun and 42 in Florissant, 42 in St. Peters, and 40 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
This winter, there are COVID-19 booster shots designed to help protect against recent Omicron variants. If it's been at least 2 months since your primary series or original booster, schedule your updated COVID-19 booster dose at vaccines.gov. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
The show, sponsored by Straight Realty, your St. Louis area experts. Why pay more than 4? 314-441-4444.
Follow us on Twitter at The Show KMOX. It's Amy Marks, Kors, and Chris Ranji until 1 o'clock. Dave Glover comes in. His show starts at 1. We are we're featured on that show from 1 until 2 every day.
If people want to follow us on Twitter, we're at The Show KMOX.
Yeah, that's what I just
Ranj, we have our little,
thing.
coffee that we get before the show.
Yeah,
That's
the
why I
coffee
brought
place.
why I brought up the Twitter again. And I posted a picture of our favorite car that's outside the coffee shop.
So there is a car that's downtown here, very close to the Soldiers Memorial.
Yeah, it's right in front
And
of Catalyst Coffee. A great
little coffee
bar.
spot.
Great coffee bar.
Associated with the art St. Louis Art Gallery. That car has been sitting on the street for at least 2.5 months.
Yep.
And it's got a huge dent in the side, which
maybe
I
3.
caused because I punched it.
Yeah, it's not true. He didn't punch it, but he pretended to punch it in the picture.
No, I caused that huge dent.
Okay.
So it's just been sitting there. I can't believe it hasn't been towed. How is it still there?
It's so ugly. It's destroyed. It's not even very well parallel parked. It's kind of
No, it's-
angled,
it's
so it
off
takes
to
up
an
a lot
angle.
of room. Like the rear wheel is maybe 2.5, 3 feet off the curb. The door's dented in.
It's got a dozen tickets on the window.
Oh my gosh. I think that's what it is. I think there aren't enough tickets because I think the owner of this car,
Yeah.
he's not going to be moved from like 20, 25 tickets. I think once they hit 30 tickets, then he'll know they're serious.
We really need to look into this because I know
I'm
for
posting it on Twitter right
I
now
know for a
again.
fact the people have been the police were notified because we were there one day
Mhm.
and a squad car rolled up, a cruiser rolled up, and
Yeah.
told the guy who works down there, like, yeah, that car's not stolen. And he was like, okay. And then they just kind of drove away and that was it. But it
It's
feels like that
so-
should be towed by
Yes.
now. It's not the police responsibility to tow it. Somebody should tow it.
I don't even understand. If I'm Catalyst Coffee, which they've called about it and asked,
Yes.
hey, we've got a cute coffee shop with some tables outside on the sidewalk, and there is this monstrosity of a wrecked car outside of their coffee shop. You know how a lot of coffee shops, like Caldi's, like they have a bar with the little stools. You sit there and work. You
Yeah.
can stare at this car. So I think either it gets towed or we decorate it, put party lights
I
on
think
it.
we should decorate
Maybe
it.
an STL City SC flag.
Yeah.
A sign that says, at least the zoo is free.
Yep.
Yeah.
Best free zoo in America.
Best free zoo in America.
Best
It's
free
such
zoo
a-
in the world.
It's such a trashy look.
See, and that's the
It
thing.
looks like
we're-
the city doesn't care
we're-
at all.
We're talking about it, and it sounds really stupid,
Mhm.
but it kind of isn't. It isn't stupid that we are disappointed, to say the least, with a car that, by the way, the dent in the side is not a somebody kicked it. It
Nope.
was broadsided
Yes.
by another car.
Yes,
Like,
it was.
that's the kind of dent. This has been sitting outside of a business downtown for at least 2.5 months.
I think
It has
it's been
there
3
for
or 4.
It probably is closer to 4.
Mhm.
Like, why is it still there? And how many other places in the city is stuff like this happening where you have eyesores? And look, I know it's not the most pressing issue in St. Louis, but eyesores matter. Because if you come, all right, sometimes we're in that coffee shop and people from other areas pop in. Maybe they're in the city for a reason, I don't know, like visiting, or they went to a hockey game or whatever. We've been in there when people from Kansas City are in there. People from Chicago are in there. If you're a visitor and you're in a coffee shop, a nice little place, and you look outside and you see this car that has clearly been in a wreck just parked out front of it, and it hasn't moved for months.
And if
what are you thinking?
What do you think? And also, as a visitor, you know it hasn't moved in months because there are 50 tickets stuck under the windshield wiper. So it's not like maybe this accident happened overnight and the city hasn't gotten to it yet. It is clear the city doesn't give a you-know-what that the car is here. Now, again, as you mentioned, eyesores matter in the same way that a sense of lawlessness matters, because, in the city of St. Louis, you can cross the street whenever the light's green. People have to slam on their brakes so they don't hit pedestrians. Red lights are light suggestions for cars. People blow through red lights and stop signs. It's chaos. It does feel like lawlessness for the few cars that are here. That's the
Right.
thing. There aren't even that many cars here. So when you have a car like that sitting in the heart of your downtown by Soldiers Memorial in front of how many coffee shops are down here? Not that many.
No.
In front of one of the best and only coffee shops downtown St. Louis. It says this city doesn't care, and the people here also don't care because it is what it is. It's crap.
You know what it looks like, and it's the only car on the street that's just sitting there. But it looks like when you watch The Walking Dead, and especially that first couple of episodes of the whole series, when they're in downtown Atlanta and there are these abandoned cars and they look wrecked, like, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like that. And again, it is not the most pressing issue in the city of St. Louis. Certainly, crime is, like, actual violence and people feeling unsafe. Like, that is the biggest problem in the city right now. Or at least that's the biggest symptom of the problem in the city right now. But if you are a visitor, maybe you live in the suburbs and you rarely come downtown, or you're from somewhere else and you never come to St. Louis, and you see something like that, I think your thought process is, okay, this city just does not care about, at minimum, doesn't care about keeping up appearances.
Well, and also you say, well, the new police chief, right? We're moving in the right direction, but he can't stop all the violence, right? We're dealing with homicides. We're dealing with root causes of crime and poverty. All of these things that are really hard to fix.
Yep.
This is so easy to
It's
fix.
super
Tow
easy.
the car.
Yeah.
Move the car.
I know we're taking a lot of time talking about this stupid dented car, but I think it matters. I do. I just think it matters because it's a symptom of the problem with the city, and it is a symptom of this town appearing to just not really care about making itself better.
Doesn't have it
There
together.
are people who do want St. Louis to improve. There are people who want that. There are a lot of people who just aren't as interested in it,
And
or
they're-
don't really care to do the work.
And they're in charge of towing cars, it seems.
Amy Marks Core's Chris Ranji. We are going to talk with Missouri Senator Lauren Arthur. She is joining us next here on KMOX.
2 ways to listen to KMOX in your car. 98.7 in the city, 1120 AM further out. The voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Congress has authorized trillions in new spending, along with doubling the size of the IRS agency in just the last few months. Do you think that is by accident? No, it is with a purpose, to go after small businesses, employees, and individuals who have not filed or paid their taxes. If this is you, don't panic, just call. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm in St. Louis. Interest and penalties on your tax bill won't stop until you take control. Call me, Lance Drury. I'll tell you in advance an affordable fee, which includes costs and expenses that works for your business and family. Your first visit to the Lance Drury Law Firm is free and confidential, so you have nothing to lose. Call me today. Remember, if you have IRS issues, you have legal issues. You need an attorney. You need us, the Lance Drury Law Firm. Call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120 or go to Lance, D-R-U-R-Y law.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Tom Ackerman for Building Community with Busey Bank, a podcast series easily accessible at KMOX.com/community banking. Reed McCrory, Vice President and Private Wealth Advisor, and Jeff Burgess, President, both with Busey Wealth Management, join me in studio to help all of our followers get fiscally fit. They have advice on assessing your finances and creating a plan for your future. Listen to our January podcast, Building Community with Busey Bank, at KMOX.com/community banking.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 38,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
We go where you go. 1120 AM, 98.7 FM, KMOX.com.
Chris Ranji, Amy Markscore is on the show on KMOX. Well, we do have the legislative session is going on in Jefferson City, Missouri. Lots of bills being proposed by representatives and by senators. And joining us now to discuss a piece of legislation that would modify the Advantage Missouri program to apply to teachers who work in high-need public or charter schools to help with loans and loan forgiveness is Senator Lauren Arthur of Kansas City. Senator Arthur, thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, student loan forgiveness has been a big topic across the country, but this is a very targeted focus for student loan forgiveness. It looks at teachers who are going to work in high demand areas.
Yeah, over the summer, I served on something called the Blue Ribbon Commission for Teacher Recruitment and Retention. And on that commission, we had folks from the private sector, business leaders, civic leaders, teachers, and legislators. And that commission put forward a number of recommendations that hopefully address the teacher workforce shortage that we're seeing across the state. One of the recommendations, apart from just teacher pay and, teacher support, was this program that actually exists in current statute. It just hasn't been funded for years and years and years. So we reworked that program. We wrote a bill that would provide some tuition assistance for people who are qualified and interested in becoming teachers, and hopefully make that process more affordable, because unfortunately teachers aren't compared to some of their college graduate peers, they're not really paid in a competitive way. And then on top of it, if we're asking them to take out student loans, that can be a pretty unenviable situation for young people to go into.
There is the bill that's also been introduced to raise teacher pay, which is trying to at least help alleviate some of that problem. The bill that you've introduced, SB 107, it isn't necessarily about forgiveness, right? It's about actually giving the loans ahead of time to people who will go teach in some of these areas you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's the proposal that we put forward. And I think, the legislative process can be a little bit of a beast at times, and there are people with lots of good ideas and input and feedback. And so, I don't expect the bill as we filed will be the bill that passes the finish line, which hopefully it does. But we're working through all of those details. But yes, the idea is that this would be an incentive for people to go into designated teacher prep programs. And one way to make that degree more affordable, but it also requires that they make a commitment to those high needs classrooms and that they remain in the teaching profession for a number of years.
Okay, yeah, that is where I was a bit unclear. So if you're a teacher, you already have your degree, and you decide to leave whatever school district you're in and go to a more high demand, high need area, this wouldn't necessarily apply to your loans.
No, not this. This program isn't designed to address that issue.
Okay, so this would be for students going into college, and would colleges across Missouri, across the country, have programs that apply, or is it only designated teaching programs?
There are a number of Board of Education educator preparation programs that would qualify, and they include things like, your traditional undergraduate and graduate programs at schools like UMSL, which is where I got my master's in education, or UMKC, or University of Missouri in Columbia. But there are many programs beyond that, but it also includes alternative certification programs. And we're seeing an increased number of people who are interested in becoming teachers, but come from alternative backgrounds. So maybe they had a career and then they decided that they wanted to do something meaningful and they go into the classroom. Those kinds of candidates would also qualify for the programs. And so there are two parts. There's an undergraduate component where people can receive, this tuition assistance for 8 semesters at about a maximum of $7,000 a year. But we also know that continuing higher education is important, and so graduate programs would also be included.
So would there be, I know that this isn't what's being introduced now, as you mentioned, but is there a future plan to make it so that if you are teaching in a different area, like Amy said, and you want to go to a higher need place, that maybe you get some assistance in hindsight?
I think that is a great idea, and one that we'll probably spend some time thinking through, and hopefully we'd be able to flesh something like that out in the future.
Has this bill received bipartisan support? Has it received pushback?
So far, I haven't heard of any pushback. We've heard from the Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development that they have some practical suggestions to help that program run a little more smoothly. So we're taking those into account. There is bipartisan support. There were Republicans and Democrats who served on the Blue Ribbon Commission, and this was something that everyone on that commission recognized as an important step forward. And so it should be fairly non-controversial. I think the biggest barrier to overcome will be getting the details right, and also finding a consistent revenue source to fund the program.
Missouri State Senator Lauren Arthur is with us on KMOX right now. What's the timeline we're looking at? If all goes well here, well, I guess give us the all goes well and the realistic timeline if this is able to pass, when people can start to see relief.
Yeah, the all goes well is an optimistic thing in the Missouri Senate, but we proposed the bill. Hopefully we'll have a committee hearing in the next few months and iron out some of these details. If the bill passes this year, it would be signed into law, and that law would go into effect in August. So I assume that the department would need some time for this program to be up and running, but any people interested in going into the teaching profession and want to enroll in an undergraduate or graduate program, hopefully by next year, that would be an option available to them.
And I know it's not your bill, but House Bill 189 from Ed Lewis out of Moberly is the bill that addresses the teacher pay and raising it. Do you imagine that's going to pass as well?
This is a major issue not just affecting students and teachers, but it's going to affect our entire state if we don't have quality people in a classroom. And I certainly, any success that I've achieved is thanks in part to having a great educator who took an interest in me and helped me achieve my potential. And so I really fear for kids that, maybe they have a long-term sub, or maybe they don't have that sort of figure in their lives who can invest the time and energy. And so I worry that this is a problem that's only beginning, and it's going to take a lot of solutions. And so I also filed a teacher pay increase bill. And then we have another bill that would create a fund to help increase the salaries of sort of these really hard to staff positions. And that could apply for, any school district, because we know that it's not just a problem in Kansas City. It's not just a problem in rural counties. It's really a problem everywhere. So I think it's going to take a lot of work. And my hope is that there is pretty broad agreement that this is something we all need to address.
As we look at staffing issues and teacher shortages, we know that a lot of Missouri school districts are moving to a 4-day school week. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't want any school district to be put in a situation where they have to make that difficult decision because of lack of funding. And so my hope is that we can start putting some of these things in place. We can increase funding to our public schools, and then they won't even, that won't even be a default position because there's no need for it. I think it's I want to make I want to form an opinion based on what the research tells us. The research shows right now that student achievement isn't significantly impacted by a 4-day school week. But I also know that, students across the country, across the world, are going to school at least 5 days a week. And I don't want any Missouri student to be put at a disadvantage. If they're expected to play sports 5 days a week and practice and get ready for the big game, I would hope that they would take the academics as seriously and invest as much time and resources into the academic side.
Missouri State Senator Lauren Arthur, thank you for being with us today, and we wish you the best of luck in this, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. My pleasure. Thank you. Take care.
That is Lauren Arthur visiting with us here on KMOX. And I'm of the mindset that we should do just about everything we can to take care of teachers. There just aren't that many more jobs that are more important than that.
Well,
I mean, there are important jobs. That is so hugely important. All of our kids are with teachers for most of the day, most of the year. How is that not massively important?
Yeah, and we're going to continue to see the divide of the cost of higher education, of going to college, getting your graduate, your master's degree, and then not seeing corresponding pay raises. The same with social work. How are you paying $75,000 a year to go to some of the top universities in our country, like WashU has a great school of social work? Well, you're not making $100,000 as a social worker. You're not making $100,000 a year as a second grade teacher in Missouri. Somehow we've got to balance it out so it's a viable option that people want to become teachers, and it's not economically untenable for them to do so.
And I know sometimes the argument against it is, we'll just go do a different job that pays more. Like, okay, that's great, but we need people to do those jobs. We need people to want to do social work. We need people who want to become teachers. Like, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope they do get taken care of, and I hope these bills pass. Moberly's bill, the Republican out of, Ed Lewis's bill, the Republican out of Moberly, and Lauren Arthur's SB 107. Amy Marks, course, Chris Ranji. Let's talk to the sports fella, Matt Pauley. Maybe we'll get some Cardinals talk in. We'll see what's happening next on the show.
Dave Glover.
I found a new kind of anger that I have.
A man not afraid to share his feelings.
Deli counter anger. I was in no particular hurry when I was at the deli counter, but it's just this guy. He's like, and he's taking his glasses and he's looking at it, you know, and he's already had 3 different things. 3. You get 3, and that's it, and then you leave.
The Dave Glover Show. Weekdays beginning at 1.
You need somebody in the background to be like, you get nothing like it.
On KMOX.
Hi, this is Brian with Velocity Home Buyers, and I buy houses cash. If you own a house and want to sell it fast at a fair price, call me at 314-782-5555. I can pay cash and close in as little as 7 days. I buy houses in any condition and any price range in the St. Louis area. I'm a private real estate investor who buys several houses a month, and I want to buy more. I buy inherited houses, divorce houses, behind in payment houses. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Do you own a house that needs updating, but you don't have the time or money for it? Great, because I love buying outdated houses. I buy vacant houses, behind on taxes houses, and foreclosure houses. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at 314-782-5555. That's 314-782-5555.
Men, if you're struggling with erectile dysfunction or PE and frustrated taking pills that don't work, Paramount Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough medical treatments that effectively treat your problem. 98% of patients experience immediate results during their first office visit. And for a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are completely free. Listen to a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Brown. The physicians at Paramount Men's Medical Center offer the most advanced treatments that eliminate ED and PE. Now men are lasting 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer, regardless of age or medical history.
Guys, to eliminate your frustration in the bedroom, call Paramount Men's Medical Center now to take advantage of this exclusive limited-time offer. Your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free, and you'll see instant results right in the office. Call now. 314-720-8081. 314-720-8081. That's 314-720-8081.
At 11:30, it's sunny and 44 degrees downtown at the Arch. All 5 suspects are in custody by Maryland Heights Police for a shooting incident at the Cracker Barrel in St. Charles. Police say 5 juveniles drove away from the restaurant at about 5:30 this morning when an employee who is expected to survive was shot twice. The juveniles had a flat tire, got out, and ran towards the Champ landfill where police eventually arrested each of them. Brazilian authorities vowed to protect democracy and punish thousands of supporters of ex-president Jair Bolsonaro who stormed and trashed the nation's highest seats of power in chaos. The mayor says the teacher shot by the 6-year-old is a red flag for the country. AP correspondent Rita Foley reports on what police are saying and not saying about what happened.
Police say the boy shot and wounded the teacher during an altercation in a first-grade classroom. He was taken into custody. Police are not providing any details, citing the ongoing investigation. They are not saying how the boy got the gun or who owns it. The teacher's condition is said to be improving. She's said to be in stable condition.
Sunny, nice and mild this afternoon with the high 52 to 56 degrees. Partly cloudy tonight, the low 38. For tomorrow and Wednesday, high 56 to 60. Right now, sunny and 44 downtown. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Happy New Year from our friends at Zero Res 2023. Time to get your home Zero Resified with all the services at 23% off. You must book and clean in January. Call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com for 23% off all of our services.
Broadcasting from the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. Now that we have started a new year, think about ways you can help the environment. First, make the switch to green soaps and personal products and green cleaning products for the sink and shower. Use towels made from materials like organic cotton. And finally, make the switch to LED lights, which can last for many years and use very little power. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Wednesday night, it's men's Billikens basketball action as they take on George Mason. Pre-game 6:47, tip at 7. Hear the game here on your home for Billikens basketball. KMOX.
KMOX. That's a station you're listening to. I'm looking at Amy Mark's scores.
Mhm.
She's avoiding eye contact with me.
I
I'm
am.
Chris Ranji, and this is the show. We are plugging away here. We talked to one of our favorite people on ERT. It is Matt Pauley. He's the sports fella, and he is with us now. Good morning, Matt. What's up?
I feel loved right now, being
Do
called
you?
one of your favorite people. Yeah, that's
Well,
a good way
Did
to
I
start
say
the
that?
week.
I don't know that Ranj likes anybody, honestly. So
Hmm.
you might be the only person that he likes.
Damn, man, that's
Does
not
that
true.
does
Oh.
that make favorite less valuable or more valuable?
See, that's interesting because there's a lot of really good people on this planet that he probably doesn't like. And if I am somebody, but there's also a lot of
Name
really bad
one.
people on this planet that he doesn't like. I don't know. I'd have to workshop this one. a
Name
little bit.
one person on this planet who's good.
Matt Pauley,
Tony Dungy.
He seems like a good fella.
Tony Danza.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Danza?
Tony Danza is.
I
I'm not
don't
sure.
know. I don't know.
He might be a weirdo.
Okay, well,
Matt, so I figure that you have been spending, the last 18 to 20-ish hours just thrilled with the idea the Bears have the number one pick in the draft now.
I think it's hilarious the way that went down. Lovey going for 2.
Lovey Smith,
then
our
getting-
guy.
Yeah. Then getting fired, and now all of a sudden, the Bears don't really need
Yeah.
a quarterback.
I think you need to
but
set
they've
the
got-
stage for
Let me
people
set this
who
up for
don't
people real
care
quick.
about the Bears.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So the NFL draft, I know that people know what that is. So the Houston Texans yesterday, all they had to do was lose their game, and they get the number one pick in the draft in
Sure.
April.
Great deal.
All they had to do was lose.
Yeah.
They are
Which
losing
they've done a lot of this year.
a ton of it. They are losing late, like with less than a minute to go in the fourth quarter, and they are marching down the field and they score a touchdown, and they are down by 1 point, and they have the option of kicking the field goal for the tie or going for 2. Lovey Smith opts to go for 2, and they get it, and they win an absolutely meaningless victory for them, except it cost them the number one
Okay,
pick.
so
It's unbelievable. If I'm a Houston Texans fan, I am losing my mind still since yesterday.
Yep.
I am losing it over that.
okay, well, wait a minute. Did anybody in the press ask Lovey Smith about that decision? How do you not ask about it?
Well, I'm sure they did. I just haven't read anything about it.
I mean, look, the answer is we came here to win the game.
You play to,
To
win the game.
Yeah.
And by the way, he was
But-
fired.
Yeah, he
He was fired.
he was
today.
going to be fired no matter what.
Yeah, right,
Like that.
Right, he was going to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Which is probably why he did it, because he knew he was going to be fired. So he's like,
Oh
what do I
my
care?
gosh, you're right.
Yeah, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
Good for Lovey
That-
Smith.
Why did they?
I'm happy for Lovey. That organization is a mess. They've had. Has it ever happened in the history of the NFL where you've fired back-to-back coaches after their first season on the job? Add to it that both of those coaches happen to be African American, and we have a problem in the NFL with teams giving black coaches legitimate opportunities. I mean, there are so many different like tentacles to this story. It's incredible.
Okay, going back to Lovey Smith, knowing he's going to get fired. So
He already has been. I mean, they've already released statements.
No,
and everything,
no.
the
I mean,
team.
yesterday.
Oh,
knowing
yesterday.
he
Yeah,
was
yeah,
going
yeah.
to get
Okay.
fired. Does he try to win the game as a blank you?
Spite?
And yes, if you're a player, do you want the number one draft pick, or do you also want to blank you to the team and say, yeah, we're going to win this? Because couldn't the players also not complete the play?
Well, Matt, wouldn't
How
you
hard
say
would
when,
that be?
when you're on the field, you're not thinking about the draft?
You don't think if your whole
No.
season has gone down the drain
Well, think
and
about
you're a
that.
player on the team?
Here's my argument, Matt. You can back me up or not. My argument is if you've ever watched people play rec league sports and how serious they get about a game that literally does not matter,
Yeah.
I'm sure these professional athletes on the field,
Yeah.
they always care about winning. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. You're never going to not give your all. You want to win. You want to go out there. You want to play well. Very few of these guys are guaranteed to be with the organization next year. These guys are, I mean, a lot of these players had to live through the Deshaun Watson situation. So I'm sure as many of these players as Lovie Smith wants to give the big middle finger to the organization themselves. So I don't think there's a whole lot of loyalty to that organization inside of that locker room to start off.
Okay, speaking of the competitiveness of these players, how in the moment they're so competitive and driven they might lose their minds. Did you watch the Packers-Lions game? Because there was a moment in that game.
Loved it.
Okay,
I loved it.
Was it Quay Walker?
Yes.
He
I didn't love
shoved
that.
a Detroit Lions athletic trainer for
Who was coming to check on an injured player.
But like he just shoved the trainer and he got ejected from the game.
Yeah.
I think he's the only player to be ejected twice this season.
Yeah, and both times it was for shoving somebody on the sideline. And it may have cost them a playoff. Like the Packers had to win if all the Packers had to do last night was win, and they're in the playoffs. And this all happened in that fourth quarter.
But like, why would you shove a trainer?
Because you're an idiot.
Yeah. So that's
Like,
maybe
there's no it's as simple of an answer to any question you've ever given me. You're an idiot, and you go do and from an like optics, sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. But from an optic standpoint, this might be the worst week in the history of the NFL to shove an athletic trainer.
That's exactly it. After what
Wow.
happened with Damar Hamlin,
Wow.
who, by the way, could be getting out of the hospital this week. So that's really great news. Hamlin is the Buffalo Bills player who collapsed on the field a week ago. And he was unconscious for a few days, started to slowly regain consciousness. And he's speaking on his own. He's able to post on social media. And there's a lot of improvement, and he could get out this week. So that is very good news. Matt, do you... I know the NFL is no longer in this city, but it's still very popular. And there still are a lot of people in St. Louis, even as salty as they feel about the Rams, who are paying attention every week. Are you one of those?
Yeah, I watch. I don't watch as closely as I used to. I don't really have a team. My wife is a Broncos fan, so I kind of and I lived in Colorado for a little while, so I kind of support them. Whoever's playing the Rams is my favorite team in the NFL each week. I'm bitter towards the Packers after my time in Wisconsin. I really don't like the Packers.
Sounds like you're a Bears fan to me.
Maybe yeah. You know what? Years ago, after I was doing radio in Colorado, I think, and years ago after the Rams left St. Louis, we did a bracket of what team I should root for in the NFL. Like I'm a lone person. I have no team. Maybe it should be the Bears, although the Bears just can't win games. I'd rather root for a winning team. Sorry.
See, listen, this is exactly why you want to be a Bears fan, because then you can't be accused of being a front runner.
Well, that's true. Okay. Did I ask you this? I might have asked you this already because I've asked a couple people this. I heard it was a guy in DC on a political podcast of all things, and he was making the argument that it's better to be a Lions fan than a Bears fan because Lions fans have no hope and never go into the season going, this could be the year. But Bears fans do.
It's
not wrong.
Ask Kevin Wheeler.
Yeah.
Kevin Wheeler grew up a
because
Lions
he said no
fan.
Lions fan ever goes in going, this could be the year. This could be it for us. But Bears fans every year have hope.
I will say this. The Lions are on the up, man. They're moving up.
Here's the thing that just floors me about some organizations, and we could probably say this about every sport, but specifically in the NFL. You can make that home run hire and bring in a GM or a head coach that just does amazing things. But if you're a Lions, if you're a Bears, if you're any one of these teams, if you're Jacksonville's a great example because they went and got Peterson, who's just a good, solid head coach. And what do you know? They end up winning a bad division this year. It's amazing how often these teams that are in a run of not having much success try to hit these home runs where the correct answer is always just go get like the safe guy, the guy who's been around the NFL forever, the guy who's seen everything, the guy who's going to make good decisions. And maybe they only last like 5 years or whatever, but at least they lift your team and your program up to some level of respectability to put yourself in a better spot. I'm amazed at some of the hires that get made because teams are trying to be smarter than everybody else when there's a lot of just super qualified dudes out there who could do the job.
All right, so let us get to very important matters of business here. Tom Ackerman talked with President of Baseball Operations John Mozeliak, It was on Sports on a Sunday yesterday. You may have heard some of it today as well. And Mo basically said that don't expect another big splash this offseason. How do you take that? And what do you think does happen, if anything, the rest of the offseason?
Yeah, it's first off, if there is going to be a big splash, he's not going to go on the radio and be like, yeah, we're really close to something that's going to really make our team better. So yeah, there's certain ways that you handle things. I think what he said may be true. I also think this team needs at least one more really important part, whether it's adding to the lineup or adding to the top of the rotation. And I would guess that he thinks kind of the same things. Now, maybe he's just reading the offseason market and realizing that's not going to happen. And he's going into the season. You know, he didn't say it's not going to happen before the end of next season. He said it's not going to happen this offseason. So I'm of the belief that this roster is not complete. Whether or not it gets complete in the offseason or it gets complete after a trade is made in season, either of those can be true. So I've gone back and forth on this because I appreciate his honesty and his candor. I think he is more honest and more open than most baseball executives out there, and it's been refreshing for me since I've gone to St. Louis. But at the same time, I really want to see the Cardinals make at least one more move.
I imagine you'll talk about the Cardinals and that very interview tonight on Sports Open Line.
I will. So only a 1 hour show tonight, and it's the second hour of our normal 2 hour window because we'll have our initial SLU coaches show from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and then I'll be on from 7 to 8. And yeah, we're going to dissect what Mozeliak had to say on Sunday morning and really get into it and try to figure out what it means for the rest of this offseason and what really matters is what the roster looks like when the team is playing, if they're playing in the postseason next year.
Matt Pauley, real quick, you have 10 seconds. If you've ever left a store and you realize they didn't charge you for an item, did you go back and pay for it?
Absolutely. I've done it many times.
Wow. Can't believe it. All right.
Yep, I'm on board with that.
After this guy caused the scene in a Walmart.
I know. Listen.
But I paid for everything.
You can either open up this aisle or you're going to have to call the cops.
All right, because we have a story for y'all. Matt Pauley, thanks.
You bet.
That is a sports fella.
Yeah.
Matt Pauley, he's on tonight.
Happened to me yesterday, Ranj.
I can't believe this story, and we're going to tell you what happened. It's next on the show. Amy Marks Kors. She's a goody two-shoes. I'm Chris Ranji. I am not. This is KMOX.
Another great one for you, ladies and gentlemen. The new joke, Uncle Sam's short form for taxes. The first line, how much did you make? The next line, send it all in.
That's really not that funny. But it's what a lot of people do in retirement. They take money out of their 401k or IRA and end up sending it in when they pay the taxes. Steve All at the All Financial Group believes there's a better plan for your retirement than Uncle Sam's plan. In fact, he invites you to take the All Tax Challenge. What if your current plan included thousands of dollars in unnecessary taxes and fees? What if you're headed for higher Medicare premiums and a lower Social Security check? What if the savings you realized would allow you to retire early? Wouldn't you want to know about that now? Take the All Financial Tax Challenge and find out. There's no charge. Call Steve today at 636-230-8824 or online at yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory services offered by All Financial Group, LLC, a registered investment advisor in Missouri. Insurance products are offered through its affiliate, All Insurance Group, LLC, licensed in Missouri and Illinois.
Snagging a Brewpub Lots of Matzo pizza for your football party is big play worthy, but winning a year's worth of free Brewpub pizza, that's a game-winning touchdown. This is Kevin Wheeler, and the best frozen pizza is the Brewpub Lots of Matzo pizza. It's loaded with award-winning Wisconsin mozzarella cheese, quality meat and veggie toppings, a flavorful sauce, a thin crust. They're my favorite, and they're easy to find. So look for the Brewpub pizzas at your local grocer, and make sure you register to win a year's worth of Brewpub pizza, along with a bar top pizza oven at KMOX.com/contests. Brewpub Lots of Matzo pizzas.
You had a solid retirement dream, sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize and travel. But inflation and recession has you wondering if all your hard-earned equity will still be there. What if you could recession-proof your equity right now? You can with Truehold. Truehold will buy your home for its best current value before a recession can erode it. You get to bank all the cash now and live in your home for as long as you want. And Truehold covers all property taxes, insurance, repairs, and maintenance. And since Truehold pays your home's current value in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you like.
Don't wait for inflation, recession, and interest rates to erode your home's value. Visit Truehold.com and discover how much Truehold will buy your home for today based on its best current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without having to move. That's Truehold.com.
For all your communication needs, check out the Center for Hearing and Speech. Call today, 314-968-4710 or chsstl.org.
The show, sponsored by Straight Realty, your St. Louis area experts. Why pay more than 314-441-4444. Chris Ranji.
Wonderful bones, great eyes, and you dress really interesting.
On the show.
Amy,
yeah,
Mark Scores, and Chris Ranji on the show. You bother me so much.
Okay, no, I'm
And why don't you
honest.
tell people what you've done?
Character is what you do when no one is looking.
Is that
Raj?
what that is? Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about the thing that you did because you're honest all the time.
Mason Jar and I went shopping
Mason
yesterday.
Jar's your boyfriend.
Yeah, people know that.
Well, who knows? Maybe somebody's just tuning in for the first time.
So, Mr. Jar and I, Mason Jar and I went shopping yesterday for some ski stuff. I'm going skiing later in the spring. He's going pretty soon. He's going a few times this year. So we need some ski clothes. We go to your outfitter. And ski stuff, Ron, I don't know if you're familiar.
Expensive.
Kind of pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a bougie thing that you would do.
Well, but also, even if it's like hunting, it's the colder the temperature, the more it costs, right? A tank top doesn't cost much at all.
Yeah.
A snow coat costs a lot. So
At least when you go hunting, you acquire food from it.
maybe.
You know?
Mason Jar has some ski bibs, some socks, and a coat. And we check out, and I don't have as much stuff as Mason Jar. My total is significantly higher than his total, which kind of surprised me a bit. We check out, and I look over and I go, wow, was some of your stuff on sale? And he said, yeah, it was. And it was. And we're walking towards the door. And I'm thinking,
You can't let it go.
I can't let it go. It's too low. It's too light. It's too low. It can't be right. So he pulls out the receipt and he looks and he goes, oh my gosh, they didn't charge me for the coat. The most expensive item in the purchase.
A $250 coat.
With tax, right? That's
Yeah.
the with tax. I think it was like, yeah.
So
Something around
Mason's
there.
got a free coat. Awesome.
We could have walked out, but I said, no, yeah, we got to go back. So we walk back to the desk, the checkout counter, and we say, hey, you forgot to charge us for this coat.
Mm-hmm.
And the person was like, oh my gosh, thank you for being honest. And then they charged us for the coat because it was an expensive coat.
Mm-hmm.
You would not have walked out with that coat. Would you have walked out with that coat? Once you have the knowledge that it would have not have been an accident. If we had gotten home and never looked at the receipt, that's an accident. But once you have the knowledge that you got that coat and they didn't charge you for it, you have to go back and pay for that coat.
Well, we have some people in the studio, I'm not going to name names,
Yeah.
who are absolutely shaking their head no. Okay? I'm not going to say if it's Dave, if it's Tyler, if it's Frank. I'm not going to say.
It's Dave and Tyler.
I am curious.
Yeah.
Text us 314-436-7900 and go to the Twitter account because we're going to put up a poll. What you would do here.
No one would have
okay?
known. No one would have known.
At the show, KMOX. Go
Yeah.
follow the Twitter account. I'm going to have the poll up here shortly.
Because the security tags are off because we were checked out.
Right.
He took the security tag off, he folded it up, he put it in the bag, and he just forgot to charge us for it.
I might. Okay, here's how I would do it, I think. I'm not exactly sure, but depending on how far down the road I got, might inform my decision of what I do.
No.
If I got all the way home,
Raj.
and I realized, if I got all the way home, honestly, I probably don't even realize it happened. I may not ever realize it happened if I don't take a close look at the receipt, because a lot of times I don't take a close look at the receipt. I just don't. I just get it, and sometimes I'll tell them, don't even give me one, because I don't want to deal with it. It's the weirdest thing. I don't want
Yeah.
to throw away receipts.
Yeah.
So I might just let it go. I don't really know what I would do here, but I might assume that maybe they gave me the coat because they liked my face.
Okay. No one likes your face, and no one's going to give you stuff.
How do you know that?
Because they like your face. Well, because I look at it
they
every
go,
day.
They go, look at this guy. I like this guy. He's got a nice face. Here's a free coat.
No one's thinking that.
Here's what I heard happened when you told me the story.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is you couldn't let it go. That Mason got a deal on a coat. You're like, why did you pay less than me? You paid less than me. I don't like it. Let me see that receipt. Show me.
When you are buying big things, big ticket items like pants and a coat, like you're kind of doing the math in your head. My goodness, they had ski socks. They're $30 for a pair of ski socks. What kind of world is this? What are we doing here, folks?
Yeah.
So you know in your head, oh man, this is going to hurt. This is going to be about this much. And I had done that in my head with my stuff, which was I had fewer items than Mason Jar. And when I heard my total and then I heard Mason Jar's total, I just knew right away.
Let it go.
Well, it couldn't be right. Well, that's why I said, was it on sale? And it was on sale.
Leave him alone.
Well, it was on sale. I didn't mind. I was happy for him, but it just didn't sound right. And he was like he would have been like, I think most people, you don't think much of it. You're like, oh, well, and it was on sale. So maybe it was a bigger discount, but it wasn't. And it was just the coat was not, they did not charge us for the coat.
Do you know what happened yesterday? And I venture to guess you don't really know what happened yesterday.
To you?
No, to you. I don't think you realized what has
happened?
occurred here
What?
because it's one of those things that's now simmering under the surface and you wouldn't know about
Mason
it.
Jar doesn't like me anymore?
Well, Mason Jar has seen a red flag.
Honestly?
He's seen a red flag because you didn't let him get away with a deal. He would have never known. He would have gone all the way home, probably never would have looked at that
Never
receipt.
looked at the receipt.
And he'd have been like, yeah, I went to this place. It's
Yeah.
a great place.
Because
You
it's
get
still
great
a high
deals.
total. It was still a high total,
Right.
right? So it's
Yeah.
not like it was $20. It was still a high total. So yeah, he probably would have never known.
Right.
I brought it to his attention.
And that is what we call in the business a red flag for him.
Knowledge
Now
is
he's probably thinking she can't let anything go. She can't just let me be happy. That's what he's thinking, right? You don't realize this.
No, because you have to be honest. Once you know, it's your responsibility to be honest. Character is what you do when no one else is looking.
314-436-7900 from a 618, my Southern Illinois people.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I would go back and pay for it.
Thank you.
That is honesty.
That's right. It's stealing. If you know you didn't pay for it, you're stealing.
314, Mason Jar knew the total was low and was hoping Amy wouldn't call him out, but had to with her early relationship pressure.
Early relationship ERP.
Yes. Listen, if this were November of 23,
Yeah.
he's walking out of there with that coat. He's like, put that away. Put that away. Leave me alone. Shut up. Shut up.
Okay,
We're walking
you
out.
just said you wouldn't have noticed.
Because I wouldn't have looked at the receipt.
No, because he didn't either. It was just I heard it.
Right.
I heard the total and I was like, and he's like, well, I don't like he wasn't even paying, you're buying it, you're doing other things, you're looking at your phone. He's not paying attention. He just didn't notice.
And if I noticed it like a week later for whatever reason,
Mhm.
which I wouldn't have, but if I did, I'd probably be like, I'm not going back there now. And I'd probably rationalize it like this. I have probably been screwed before in the past by a
Unbelievable.
retailer. It's all coming out in the wash.
Unbelievable.
It's all coming out in the wash.
Unbelievable.
Tell you what else is coming out. All your red flags.
Oh, there's a lot of them.
Yeah. And Mason just discovered a big one. You're in trouble, lady. About to be single again.
Okay. Well, anyway.
You're listening to KMOX. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji. Sarah Miller with the American Economic Liberties Project will join us next on the show.
What if everything you got came with a little bit of money? Spicy chicken ramen with a side of quarters, a full tank of gas, and a $5 bill, an entire pantry's worth of groceries, and a pocket full of cash. Well, then you'd be living life on the upside. The first platform that gives you real cash back in real life wherever you roll. restaurants, grocery stores, gas stations, all cashback opportunities. So order the expensive appetizer, buy a little extra at the store, fill your gas tank till the pump stops. Because with Upside, you can. Start earning cashback just for doing you. Download the free Upside app and use promo code SPICY for an extra $10 cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's promo code SPICY. Promo code SPICY, SPICY, for an extra $10 on the free Upside app. Start living life on the upside with the free Upside app.
You know when you start up a motorcycle and you hear it go vroom, vroom, vroom when it takes off? I was losing that. I was losing my energy like everybody does as they grow older. And I don't want to be tired. I don't want to look tired, and I don't want to be tired. I started using Balance of Nature about a year and a half ago, noticed the results immediately, and I went, oh my gosh, this works. This is what I've been missing all my life. I'm loving life actually more than I ever have. I missed my va-va voom. I got it back.
Experience the Balance of Nature difference for yourself. See why Kathy Lee Gifford and thousands of others have had life-changing success with Balance of Nature. Take advantage of our New Year's offer while you still can. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com. That's 1-800-246-8751 and get $25 off plus a free fiber and spice when you use discount code KLG.
KMOX, KECK HD2, K254CR, St. Louis.
The home of the Cardinals, KMOX. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Is your bank, brokerage, or your insurance company telling you to buy an annuity? They may have limited access to the best rates available. You need solutions, not someone pitching you a specific product. Call for your complimentary retirement and income book at 844-513-SAFE. That's 844-513-7233. And also join me, Ben Coons, for the Retirement and Income Radio Show, heard here every Saturday at 3 p.m. on KMOX Radio.
AMCO presents Bet You Didn't Know.
Bet you didn't know that your car's transmission is made up of 800 pieces. Also, bet you didn't know that AMCO's fixed over 40 million transmissions and that AMCO offers a nationwide warranty.
AMCO offers easy payment plan options for most any credit situation, so you can fix it fast and pay it off slow at AMCO.
That's AMCO, AA, MCO.
Mid-America's most trusted source for news, KMOX.
At 12 noon, it's a sunny sky, 46 degrees downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun. Our top story this hour, the latest on a shooting at the St. Charles Cracker Barrel.
This is Kevin Killeen outside the Cracker Barrel, where around 5:30 in the morning, a worker was running his car, warming it up, and when he came out to empty the trash, saw that someone was behind the wheel. He confronted that person, and there was a shooting. He was shot once in the buttocks and once in the elbow, expected to survive. Then police gave chase to a Nissan that eventually got a flat tire in Maryland Heights by the Champ landfill. 6 juveniles were taken into custody, 3 teenage boys ages 14, 15, and 16, and 3 girls, young girls. They are considered witnesses, not participants to this crime.
President Biden is in Mexico for a summit of North American leaders after a visit to the border.
They need a lot of resources, and we're going to get them for them.
President Biden's trip to El Paso, Texas Sunday was his first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border since taking office. He was met at the airport by Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who handed him a letter of criticism.
Tens of thousands of Texans have had their lives destroyed by his open border policies.
At a port of entry, the president viewed a demonstration of officers checking cars for drugs and other contraband. He also visited the El Paso County Migrant Services Center, where aid workers spoke about the services they provide to hundreds of people each day who've been released by Border Patrol.
If I could wave a wand, what would you want me to do most?
Funding is one of the things that we do most funding. El Paso Representative Veronica Escobar says she was grateful for the president's visit.
Talking to people who are doing the work on the ground every single day.
I'm Jennifer King.
Some St. Louis City aldermen hang on to their ward money and have accumulated large sums. Alderman Joe Vaccaro says many road repair projects are the job of aldermen to address.
So they may have to hold that money for 1 or 2 years or 3 years in order to get a major
street done.
Vaccaro tells Total Information AM he's turning road repair decisions and funding over to the city because it would put the mayor's office in charge of those ward decisions.
If you don't like the way your alderman spends it, you should call him on the phone and say, hey, what are you doing with our money? Because technically, it's the neighborhood's money.
Currently, aldermen get $300,000 to $400,000 a year for their ward that could be spent on a number of different projects. Reaction in Prince Harry's homeland, mostly negative.
Prince Harry's pre-publication interview here attracted fewer viewers than the season debut of a popular detective series. PR professional Farzana Bodwell thinks the backlash has begun.
There's been a tsunami of stories, and you almost feel that you're the third wheel in a family therapy scenario. And after a while, it's a bit too much.
A new opinion poll shows Harry's popularity has hit a new low here, with almost 2/3 of Brits polled viewing him negatively. Vicky Barker, CBS News, London.
The KMOX business desk, a famed Danish restaurant to close.
The ultimate global destination for foodies is going to close its doors, sort of. Noma, the restaurant in Denmark's capital Copenhagen, often cited as the best in the world, will discontinue service to regular customers at the end of next year, but continue as a full-time food laboratory. The New York Times reports that despite throngs of people around the world planning entire vacations around reservations to pay more than $500 for its multi-course tasting menu, Noma can't sustain a profit. Andrew O'Day, Bloomberg Radio.
The Dow from Stifels up 164 points to 33,794.
This afternoon's going to be nice and mild. Sun for the most part, high 52 to 56, upper 30s tonight. Even milder tomorrow and Wednesday with some sun, highs in the upper 50s to near 60. But then rainy and colder on Thursday, low 40s to start. But then temperatures may drop and it could go over to some snow. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Steve DeVore, the voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
Partly cloudy and 46 in Florissant, sunny and 48 in St. Peter's, and sunny 46 downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
But my lips are turning blue. Are they fast?
My darling, Jerry Kelly can install a new furnace tomorrow, no matter what day tomorrow is, even if we call late at night.
You are my hero.
They're fast and they're good and they got it going on. JerryKelly.com.
The show, sponsored by Straight Realty, your St. Louis area experts. Why pay more than $4? 314-441-4444.
Chris Ranji, Amy Mark scores on the show, and an issue that will inevitably affect either Chris or me later on when we're fired, I guess. That whether or not we have a non-compete clause.
Hey.
I know. I don't know where I can work, honest to goodness, when I inevitably lose this job.
You go back to that store that you were so honest at.
I know. I could work there. Hey, I've worked retail a lot. Okay. Last Thursday, the Federal Trade Commission issued a plan to ban non-compete clauses. So this, if you no longer have non-compete clauses, workers could take jobs with rival companies. They could start businesses that would be considered rival businesses and wouldn't have to deal with any issues.
And by the way, this is extremely common in our business. Almost everybody has a non-compete, which means if you do, even if they fire you, you have to wait. It could be a month, it could be 6 months, whatever it is, before you can work in the same city doing a similar job.
I feel like mine's really bad. Like if I get fired, I have to wait 20 years before I can touch a microphone anywhere in the world. I'm not sure.
I have to wait for my reincarnation.
Yes, that's right. Well, to give us a bit more information on the FTC's plan to end non-compete clauses, what that could mean, is Sarah Miller. She's the executive director of the American Economic Liberties Project. Sarah, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, you all. Thanks for having me.
Okay, what are your thoughts right now on what the FTC is proposing? Because I feel like I can make legitimate arguments for both sides that non-compete clauses can be too restrictive and unfair, but also an absence of non-compete clauses could pose a risk to businesses.
Yeah, so this is a huge deal. This is a huge story. So non-compete agreements bind roughly 30 million workers to their jobs. Originally, when they kind of first became popularized, they were very narrowly targeted towards senior level executives that might have proprietary or very sensitive information. They were not necessarily intended to expand outward to capture this many workers and have a systemic impact. So not only employees in media and radio and TV, but janitors, nurses, doctors, professionals, and everyday kind of working people find themselves really constrained by these sorts of pervasive agreements. And cumulatively, the FTC estimates that workers make $300 billion less every year because of that constraint. So, I think now at this point, non-competes are largely used to help employers keep wages low by limiting the ability of their employees to leave and to negotiate for higher wages by leveraging other job opportunities. So the FTC has said that's clearly an unfair method of competition. I mean, they're called non-competes, so it's a little bit hard to argue with that. And that when there are very specific sensitivities around sensitive business information, there's other areas of law that deal with that, like trade secrets law or non-disclosure agreements. So they've said that's enough. These are being abused systematically in ways that are anti-competitive and bad for both workers and innovation, since they'll prevent people from starting their own businesses. And they've opened up proposed rulemaking to kind of ban them across the board. So we're very excited about it.
So is it possible to justify this practice of making people sign non-competes while also saying that free market should rule? Everything should be free market. It feels like they're very conflicting ideas to me.
Yeah, so I think that, the way I look at it is this is securing the free market from a form of coercive private regulation, right? So we think that you should be free to compete in the labor market. You should be free to start your own business if you have a good idea or a client base. I think that because the antitrust laws have not been enforced appropriately for many decades now, we've seen a huge increase in corporate consolidation and power over the past 30 or 40 years, that in particular, large corporations are essentially able to privately regulate a number of markets, both on the consumer side and on the labor side. And so this is correcting for that kind of abuse of power and the ability of so many employers to embed this kind of legal language into employment contracts. So we are really excited, actually, about this move because we think it secures the freedom of workers to find the best job for them, and it prohibits this sort of coercive private regulation that is both hurting, the everyday workers and hurting their ability to find the right job and to negotiate for better pay, and also at the end of the day, really hurting innovation in this country, which we have also seen decline, kind of along with this rise in the power of incumbent firms. So, we think that the FTC is stepping in here and really protecting and trying to establish free and open competitive markets and kind of push back against some of that private kind of regulatory coercive behavior that typically dominant firms have been layering into the marketplace.
It's really interesting. I love reading all of the different media outlets and opinion sections from the editorial board or just the op-eds that are there from the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the National Review. And this doesn't fall along party lines at all. It's the National Review, Reason Magazine, more libertarian, more conservative, are in favor of at least, if not banning non-compete clauses, at least tamping them down a bit. New York Times, I know the Wall Street Journal had an editorial board say, well, the FTC could be stretching its authority here. But it's really interesting that this is not one of those issues in America that's technically red and blue, at least not from the media output. And as you said, I think it's because normally with non-competes, you're looking at executives with proprietary information, but this is affecting service workers, blue-collar workers, all the way down to the infamous Jimmy John's case, where people who worked at Jimmy John's had to sign non-compete clauses, and that's not good for a free market.
That's right. And, I have to give credit to President Biden here. He has cared about this issue for a long time. He gave a speech about it last summer, and he asked the FTC to look into it. This was already an area of concern for the new leadership at the FTC, Lina Khan. And, I think they really looked at the evidence and saw that non-compete agreements had proliferated to such an extraordinary degree, like you mentioned, touching so many professions and so many types of jobs where there was no legitimate use case for a non-compete, that the right approach is an outright ban. So in those circumstances, when you might have a very senior executive that has access to privileged information, there's other types of legal tools that can be used to secure that sort of information. That there really is not a legitimate use case for non-compete agreements. They simply, at this point, have been used to shift, to shift capital from workers to kind of bosses sitting in the C-suite. So I think a lot of credit has to go to the administration for making this a top priority. And then you're absolutely right. We've seen a lot of kind of bipartisan support for this move now that the FTC has made it.
So what you're saying is there's a way to combat the proprietary stuff by going after people who, after the fact, might give some information to another company, as opposed to trying to prevent them from leaving in the first place. That's the right way to do it? Okay.
Absolutely. That's the right way to do it. Mm-hmm.
And then what are the chances or the, the timeline for this going into effect?
Great. So good question. Probably later this week, there will be a 60-day comment period that opens up where anybody can submit a comment to the FTC. I'm certain they will read through all of them. So whether you think this is a great idea, whether you've been harmed by these in the past, whether you think this is, the idea needs to be tweaked in some way or changed, they really do want to kind of hear from people, particularly from a wide variety of industries, right? So we can kind of understand how this is manifested across different sectors of the economy. After that 60-day comment period, the FTC will then review all of those submissions, and they'll come out at some point in the months after with a final rule. Businesses will have 180 days to comply with the rule at that point. We've already seen also alongside this rulemaking some enforcement actions against companies that have had egregious kind of non-competes in their employment contracts. So we're likely to see the FTC continue to enforce kind of under the authority that they've been granted. So I imagine we'll also see businesses probably start to unilaterally drop non-competes from their contracts with their employees, since they kind of see where the direction of this is going, and since the FTC does already have some authority to enforce against them, even while the rule is still being finalized.
If it does go through and is finalized, does that mean if you have a non-compete in your contract, you'd have to re-sign a whole new contract, or just that portion of the contract is voided?
Yeah. So what will happen at this point, and the rule is not finalized yet, is that your employer is required to tell you that your non-compete is null and void. So even if you don't know there's a non-compete in your contract, which a lot of people don't until they try to find another job and they realize that they're constrained or they have to wait or move to do that, they will be proactively notified that they are free to move to take a different job if they so choose, without any sort of constraints on that kind of freedom of employment. So I think that kind of portion of the contract will be null and void.
Sarah Miller, Executive Director of the American Economic Liberties Project, with us on KMOX. We appreciate your time this afternoon, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
So that is, I think it's a good thing. I mean, I don't think the majority of people, the vast majority of people, should have this attached to their contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And again, in full disclosure, we have them.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody in this
Yeah.
business has something like that. But when you start to talk about like Jimmy John's employees,
Right.
like, come on, man. Come on, some of these are part-time people. Some of them are, managers or whatever. But
Because we all understand the idea that, if you're an executive, you are, that C-suite person with proprietary information, and it could be damaging, sure. For you to just abandon ship, go to a competing company or start your own business. That makes sense. If you're a part-time worker at Jimmy John's, why do you have a non-compete? What in the world? And because also switching jobs is a way workers affect
their own
salary
salaries.
raises.
Yep.
It's how you get a pay raise. That's part of competition and the free market. Okay, this is a little bit of a side note. I know we need to go, but I was listening to a really interesting political podcast and talking about companies being, pro free market or trade or whatever versus anti free market, free trade, and all of that. And most companies, in the podcast said, most companies, they're not really acting on principle, being pro or against something. It's just, how does it affect my company?
The company. Yep.
And if the regulation benefits, for instance, there are regulations that can be harder for small businesses to follow, a little bit more expensive, right, per employee. So a big company, like a Pepsi company or Coke or whatever, a big company can be in favor of those regulations because the smaller companies, it's going to cost them more. It's going to be tougher. So that, again, when you're looking at pro-business or you're against something regarding regulation for businesses, it's generally not on principle. It's just what benefits the business.
Which is pretty much most decisions that are ever made in business. It's not out of principle. It's not out of ideology. It's out of how does this positively affect our company's bottom line? It's really that simple.
And there are, and again, there's just, we don't live in vacuums. So there are some really, really good regulations that are necessary, but are harder for small businesses to comply with and ultimately end up benefiting big businesses because they've got the resources. But it's just, what are you going to do? You can't not have certain regulations.
Speaking of a company that is operating out of altruism by giving away free stuff, there's a company that has had a really difficult time in the last couple of weeks. And
I'm going to visit that company on Friday.
Oh, really?
I am.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Take some cookies to the people at the counter and say, sorry.
Because are they the friendly skies?
Maybe not anymore. Amy Marks Kors and Chris Ranji will discuss that when we come back on the show.
For everything online, it's Odyssey.com. Download the Odyssey app and listen to The Dave Glover Show and all the news, talk, sports, and podcasts that move you. Odyssey, that's AUDACY.
Mike Capel here, serial entrepreneur with words from another happy payroll customer.
I had zero experience running a business, which is why Patriot Software has been so valuable to us. Not only has it saved us time and money, it saved us headache in researching information about compliance and payroll. I would definitely recommend Patriot Software every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
With PatriotSoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
When you hire your local CertaPro painters, you get
the power of doing it right.
Detailed project proposals, excellent customer service, and trusted professionals who get the job done on time and on budget.
The power of experience.
We're kings of the scaffolding and pros with the stucco. We've been there, done that. Get your project started at CertaPro.com. And get
the power of pro.
Each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet Store.
Hi, this is Arnold, owner of the Good Feet Store. How many blocks can you walk before you want to sit down because of foot, ankle, knee, or low back pain?
I really just wanted to avoid staying on my feet for very long at all.
Do you hate going to work in the morning because you already know that you're going to hurt?
If you're just in pain, you're hurting, you tend to get a little distracted from what you're working on too.
Come to the Good Feet Store today and try it before you buy it.
I hobbled into the Good Feet Store. It's been one of the best decisions I ever made. It was an investment in life.
Call 314-317-9494 or visit one of our 2 locations. On Olive, west of I-270 in the plaza with Subway, or in Shiloh, Illinois, across from Deerbergs.
Thanks to the Good Feet Store.
Individual results may vary. Consult your physician for medical conditions. Visit the website goodfeetstlewis.com. Start the new year on a better foot. Come in and try the Good Feet feeling today. Comfort, energy, performance, and pain relief at the Good Feet Store.
Hi, it's Debbie Monterey. And when I make a recommendation, you can be sure that I've done my homework and I only promote the best. So when it comes to real estate, I only recommend one realtor, and that is Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. I've been recommending Gloria for years now. I've met her clients, I've seen her systems, and she's the only agent I would trust to sell my home. Gloria Liu's proven track record for selling hundreds of homes this year alone should give you the confidence that she will help you sell for the most money, or the fact that Gloria already has the buyers. Buyers looking to buy right now. That's why Gloria will actually guarantee in writing to sell your home at your price and your time frame, or she'll buy it herself. Call Gloria Liu today at 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or you can find her online at gloriahasthebuyers.com. Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
The voice of St. Louis. News that matters to you. KMOX.
Hey, Chris Ranji.
Yes.
I'm Amy Mark Scores. What's the most costly mistake you've ever made?
The cost,
Like financially. Yeah, financially, not like life.
Why didn't you tell me to prepare for this question? Because I don't know.
Because I just
maybe,
thought of it.
Maybe my career choice?
Oh, that's a great point. Yeah, it's an excellent point. I think all of my career choices.
I mean, it's fine. You know, it could be better, but it's fine.
Well, you work with me every day, so.
Oh, God.
Southwest's mistake, the little meltdown they had in December, could cost them up to $825 million. They canceled more than 16,700 flights from December 21st through December 31st. That seems like a lot of flights in like a 10-day span. Almost 17,000 flights were canceled. And it could cost them $825 million in the fourth quarter, resulting in a loss for the period. That includes between $400 million and $405 million in lost revenue.
So this should be, and I don't know if we said this when the whole ordeal was going on, and every day we're learning about the thousands of flights that are being canceled. And it was something like, up to 2,600, 2,700 flights per day that were wiped off the board, when the next worst airline would be like 70 flights.
Yeah.
So it just was an extraordinary difference between a typical airline and what was going on with Southwest. What we talked about was the fact that all they had to do was invest now in a problem that they did not view as a problem yet. There's too much short-term thinking.
Yeah.
With a lot of companies and a lot of people who are in positions of power in these companies, they're not thinking about the future. They're thinking about right now. Bottom line looks pretty good. We're doing okay. Why invest a little bit on their company's infrastructure when at the moment doesn't look like there's any problems?
Well,
when you don't identify things that could be extremely costly to you down the line, this is what happens.
Well, here's the thing.
So now you're out almost $1 billion.
But it's even worse. They identified it. They were like, we really got to deal with this. This could be problematic. But then they just kept getting by with it. And if you can get by with it and you don't have to deal with it, you're just pushing it off to another day. But they quite literally in November had another meeting in which they brought it up again because the pilots unions had been warning for years that this Sky Solver program, an off-the-shelf program that they were using to schedule pilots and flights and all of that, staffing, that it was inadequate to the size and scope of the company.
I have a friend, and I mentioned this to you before, at least off the air, who has been a Southwest pilot for a couple of decades at least. He might be close to 30 years, actually. And he shared with me a long text message from a fellow pilot. And he said, this pretty much sums it up. And I don't know if he knew that pilot personally or if it was just something that was being shared amongst Southwest employees. But that person basically said, this pilot said, we had an exceptional CEO 20-something years ago. And it was a guy by the name of, I'm looking at the text message right now, trying to find it. I don't know. I can't, Gary Kelly was his name. I'm sorry. He was the guy that took over. It was somebody named Herb prior to that, who was their guy. And he said everybody loved this guy and he was great. And then they hired somebody who was strictly an accountant by trade. And what happens when companies hire accountants to oversee everything? Nothing matters except for the bottom line. Do the numbers work right now? There's no vision for the future. I mean, there can be, but there's no thinking down the line. There's no working with your employees. There's no relationships with the people who do the work for you. It's all about the bottom line right now. And the feeling was that company had been really well perceived by people, including me. I think the general public thought Southwest is good. They're cheap. They'll get you somewhere. They got a lot of flights. They got a good safety record. People are friendly who work there. The only downside is you got to pick your own seat, right? Like that's a problem for some people, but that's the only problem that you could foresee.
And
with them.
which you could fix with early bird for the most part.
Yeah, you can fix that. It's fine. It's a minor inconvenience, but to not be able to see the future when everybody else around you can see it, your employees can tell this is going to be a problem someday. And then natural causes, storms, snow, just the worst possible form of events that all come together at once. We're going to cause something like this, and it did, and now you're out almost $900 million.
And it cost them, but guess who will still be flying Southwest? Everyone.
You're going to go on a flight?
I'm going, yeah.
I will too. I wonder how long it's going to take them to recover, though. That's going to be a problem. You're listening to the show. Amy Marks, Corzin, Chris Ranji on KMOX.
Save the date.
January 26th at the Wildey Theater in Edwardsville.
It's the DGS Live, a night of comedy and music.
It's an absolute riot. All the stories I tell on the air that you guys love, I tell the real ones. I don't have to be FCC friendly.
Tickets are on sale now.
$60 for VIP.
Which gets you floor seating, a pre-show VIP meet and greet with a DGS, and more.
Regular tickets, which are $30. We should have charged more.
The DGS Live.
January 26th.
For tickets or more info, KMOX.com/events.
Men, if you're struggling with erectile dysfunction or PE and frustrated taking pills that don't work, Paramount Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough medical treatments that effectively treat your problem. 98% of patients experience immediate results during their first office visit. And for a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are completely free. Listen to a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Brown. The physicians at Paramount Men's Medical Center offer the most advanced treatments that eliminate ED and PE. Now men are lasting 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer, regardless of age or medical history.
Guys, to eliminate your frustration in the bedroom, call Paramount Men's Medical Center now to take advantage of this exclusive limited-time offer. Your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free, and you'll see instant results right in the office. Call now, 314-720-8081. 314-720-8081. That's 314-720-8081.
At 12:30, it's a sunny sky, 48 degrees downtown at the Arch. The special grand jury in Atlanta that has been investigating whether then-President Donald Trump and his allies committed any crimes while trying to overturn the 2020 election loss in Georgia has finished its work, bringing the case closer to possible criminal charges against Mr. Trump and others. The decision whether to seek an indictment from a regular grand jury will be up to the Fulton County District Attorney, who had no comment. Protesters supporting Brazil's former president, Jair Bolsonaro, throw down street barricades as they storm Brazil's National Congress, Supreme Court, and presidential palace buildings in Brasilia. Princesses are popular again.
Disney princesses are back. At least at toy maker Mattel, it just regained a contract to make Cinderella, Moana, Anna and Elsa dolls, and more. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
We've got a stalled vehicle 270 north at 6440 on the right shoulder. A crash on 141 south at Forest Knoll. That's got the right lane closed. And a stall 70 east before 370. The right lane is blocked. The weather forecast is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning. Sunny, nice, mild this afternoon with a high of 52 to 56 degrees. Overnight, partly cloudy, the low 38. For tomorrow and Wednesday, mild with sun and some clouds and a high of 56 to 60. It's a sunny sky, 48 degrees at the moment downtown at the Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at LanceDruryLaw.com. Broadcasting from the Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com studios.
KMOX.
An important message from SNL Coins. SNL Coins pays top dollar. We buy neon signs, sports memorabilia, Breweriana, silver plate, fine gold filled, antiques, and collectibles. Get a quote with a call to SNL at 544-3600 or visit SNL, 9300 Gravois, just east of McKenzie. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Saturdays, 9 to 4. Before you sell, call SNL, 544-3600.
Your home of the Cardinals.
Arenado swings and hits it deep to left field. That ball is out of here.
The Billikens.
Jumper. Yes! Billikens win!
The Chiefs.
Touchdown! Kansas City!
We are America's sports voice. KMOX.
America loves football. America loves the NFL.
Where'd you hear this?
Well, I heard it from everyone, actually. Okay. Chris Ranji, Amy Mark Scores here on the show. Here was what we have here.
Okay.
82 of the top 100 most watched TV shows of 2022. So again, 82 of the top 100 most watched TV shows last year, NFL games.
Didn't I say this last week?
NFL football.
This is exactly what we were talking about last week. And in particular, this argument. All right, let me back up real quick. In baseball, every year there's a chorus of people, and it's usually pretty small, talk about how baseball is dying and nobody watches it anymore. And they look at the World Series ratings, and then they say, this is the argument to prove nobody likes baseball anymore because nobody's watching the World Series. And they do this every year. But the sport is very healthy. When the protests were going on, the Kaepernick protests, and football players were kneeling around the country, the folks who did not like seeing those protests would say, this is going to kill the NFL.
Yeah, no.
And then they would, they try to justify it. Even then, even when the NFL was, quote, at its lowest, which it wasn't, people were watching the sport in the millions. And it has always been, at least for the last many, many years, that at least 3/4 of all the TV shows throughout the course of a year, the TV shows, and we're talking about like an individual NFL game is considered a TV program, they are the highest rated programs by far, more than anything else. And this is another illustration of it. The sport is extremely popular. And that's why companies are paying so much money and advertisers are paying so much money to be associated with them because eyeballs are on them.
So again, just for perspective, 82 of the top 100 NFL games, 5 of the 100 are college football games. So it means 87 of the top 100 most watched TV shows were football. If you would like some other perspective, well, let me do this. Coming in at number 35, so like the 35th most watched, that number 35 is the 4-10 Broncos losing to the 4-10 Rams by 37 points on Christmas Day. That riveting game got more viewers than any NBA game, period, more than any Major League Baseball game, period, more than any World Cup game, more than the Oscars, and more than any scripted TV show. Was that 4-10 Broncos, 4-10 Rams, 37-point blowout on Christmas Day. So that puts it in perspective. 1, 2, 3, 4 of the top 100 most watched TV broadcasts were political programming. You have...
Which is likely, would it be, I don't know if they went into specifics because I didn't see it in
I don't have the
what was
specifics,
posted.
yeah.
But would it be like election night?
Maybe. Or the first day of January 6th hearings. I'm not sure.
Could be that.
3 of the programs were World Cup games. One was the Academy Awards. One was the Kentucky Derby. And you had 2 were college basketball. And one was the Thanksgiving Day Parade, which is a bit of a surprise.
That's so funny to me.
I know.
It's the one thing.
It's so boring and it's fun and festive. I think people are home and they turn on the TV and by accident they watch it.
And so the Academy Awards thing, did that happen? I'm now misremembering. Did the Will Smith,
That
Chris
was
Rock
this-
thing? That was the
this
Academy
past one.
Awards.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was number 77.
Well, maybe that's why it got the top 100 because of that.
Like
I don't
people
know.
turned
People
it on
tuned it on.
after.
Yes.
Yeah.
It-
That's a great point.
yeah. Like, oh my God, look, you won't believe what just happened. And so everybody probably turned it on
But
then.
anybody who said, "Oh, the NFL, they've made this bed. People
Nah.
are going to turn from
Nah.
the NFL." No, they're not.
And it
They're
was
not.
no different during the protests.
Yeah.
I'm just telling maybe slightly different, but it's not effectively it was the same. They dominated everything else on television. The top 35 programs are all football except for
Yeah.
2. That's how much people watch this sport. This is interesting against the backdrop of what happened last week with Damar Hamlin.
Mhm.
And there have been a couple of pieces written. There was one in the New York Times. There was one by Dave Zion, and I think he wrote for the Washington Post, if I'm not if I'm remembering correctly, about the future of the sport and whether things like that, this guy getting hit in the chest and then having a cardiac event and nearly dying on the field in front of everybody, if events like this, coupled with CTE, the head injuries, and the kinds of illnesses that football players deal with years after they're finished
Yeah.
playing the sport, if stuff like this will ultimately lead to the death of the sport, and I don't think it does. I think the sport is always going to be really popular, but
Mhm.
what may end up happening is you just have fewer and fewer kids playing the sport growing up because parents don't want them to, which means 10 to 15 years down the line, there's not as big of a talent pool
Yeah.
of people playing. But I think there are parts of the country that are never going to stop playing football.
I mean, when you look at all of human history, sex and violence will always sell. It just always will. And your interpretation of those two things may look different, but they're commercialized and they will always bring in money and eyeballs. There's a story in Sportico, which is like a sports business magazine by Anthony Krupe. I think that's how you say his name. He said, "The NFL is the monoculture, so much so that the TV is now merely a delivery system for the league. Manufacturers may as well start slapping the shield on the back of every TV set that's bound for the U.S. market."
Yeah.
Because when you look at streaming services and how, well, no one sits down to watch an event at the same time, he said that interpretation only holds water if you're willing to ignore the 171.3 billion TV ad impressions the National Football League served up last year. 171.3 billion TV ad impressions. That's a lot of money.
There are a number of reasons it is as popular as it is. I do think one of them is fantasy sports and betting, sports betting, which has always been around, even if it's not legal. People have been betting. They find ways to get around it. There are offshore books. There are, local actual bookies that are taking bets. And it's a very good sport to bet. It's an interesting sport to bet because people feel like they have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. And they don't always, but it feels like
Yeah.
When you're watching two NFL teams go at each other, you kind of feel like, I think I know what's going to happen here. And you find out a lot of times you don't. But it seems that way. It's an interesting sport to watch. It's only 3 hours, and your team plays once a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like every single night where it feels like too much, right?
And I will say this, and I think that's a ding against baseball because hockey is more frequent than football, but the games are always 2.5 hours.
Yep.
You know, it's
NBA
nice
too.
and compact. Same with basketball.
Yeah.
Baseball is every single day, and it could be 7 hours for a meaningless game. That's a tougher
Yes.
sell.
Yeah.
It just is.
That is why I know a lot of people hate it, but I just don't. I think it's actually good, the 10th inning rule with putting the runner at second base. And I know there are a lot of people in their cars right now or listening on the Odyssey app that are like, oh, come on, that's stupid. And that's not baseball. Hey, a game in July,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't matter. Doesn't need to be going 16 innings.
No.
I don't need it. It's fine. We get plenty of baseball during the week. I don't need a game as a viewer to go 19 innings. I don't even need it to go 13 innings. If I can get it over with in 10, fine.
Yeah.
You've had 9 innings to have an outcome, and you can't get it settled in 9 innings in July or in early August between two teams that don't really matter. It's not necessary to the sport. And it's clearly affecting to your pitching staff, which is the biggest reason they've done this. It's more than just pace of play. It's about what happens the next day and how that can ruin a pitching staff for like 2 to 3 games after, which makes the product worse. That's what it's about to me. But I think that all of that combined, the amount of time it takes to play a game, it can be upwards of 4 hours for a regular game, and then you're playing every single day. That's a lot. That's a huge commitment if you're a fan of that team. So football's perfect in that way. You got one game, you get jazzed for one game a week.
Yeah. Although, how great, and we were talking about this earlier, how great is the Saturday, Sunday NFL combo like package once you get late in the season, you get to the playoffs.
College football's over.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't like college football as much. I'll
I
watch
know,
the
I don't
championship
either.
game. I just
Yeah.
don't. I like the NFL game. I think it's cleaner. Guys are better. It's more fun to me. And so I love that last couple of weeks of the season when it's NFL Saturday and NFL Sunday. And we're going to get that again next week.
Yeah.
I like
it's a lot of fun.
I think it's really good. So football's never going away, even with the injuries, even with all of that stuff. There's always going to be people who want to play. It just might be that the talent pool is smaller moving forward because parents, like I said earlier, don't want their kids to play. That might be the only thing.
Do you think it's going to be smaller to the point that it affects the quality of the game? Because the game so far has only gotten faster and more violent.
Yes, but I don't think it'll be as noticeable. I don't think 15 years from now, you're going to be like, this game's not as, these guys aren't as talented as they used to be. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will be. But the sport's always going to survive.
No, yeah, I don't even know that the talent pool is going to get smaller.
I think it will, but by very little.
Yeah.
Because there are always going to be people who want to play. It's just to finish up, and I'll reiterate what I said last week after the Hamlin situation, the DeMar Hamlin situation. All that should happen here is these guys should be taken care of when their careers are over. And there should be no, jerking around with it. Just take care of them. The league has billions that come in per year, $13 billion a year they make. They should take care of the players when they're done playing. That's Amy Marks-Kors. I'm Chris Ranji. We will talk to you about Joe Biden. The president went to the border. Amy's got thoughts. We'll discuss those when we come back here on the show.
Well, if you own a business and you've managed to make it through the past couple of years with everything that the pandemic has thrown at you, from restrictions, shutdowns, supply chain issues, staffing shortages. Well, if you own a business and that business survived and has 5 or more employees, you could be eligible to receive a payroll tax rebate of up to $26,000 per employee. Now, it's not a loan, and there's nothing you need to pay back. It is a refund of your taxes. And when the word taxes gets thrown around, it can be a bit intimidating. You picture a lot of red tape you need to get through. Make sure you qualify, you fill out the forms correctly. Well, the team at getrefunds.com can help you out. The tax attorneys they put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program and have already returned $1 billion to businesses, and they can help you too. They do all the work with no charge up front. They simply share a percentage of the cash that they get for you, and businesses of all types can qualify. So to find out if your business qualifies, just go to getrefunds.com, click on Qualify Me, and answer a few questions. Getrefunds.com.
Hi, this is Brian with Velocity Home Buyers, and I buy houses cash. If you own a house and want to sell it fast at a fair price, call me at 314-782-5555. I can pay cash and close in as little as 7 days. I buy houses in any condition and any price range in the St. Louis area. I'm a private real estate investor who buys several houses a month, and I want to buy more. I buy inherited houses, divorce houses, behind in payment houses. I even buy my tenant won't pay me the rent houses. Do you own a house that needs updating, but you don't have the time or money for it? Great, because I love buying outdated houses. I buy vacant houses, behind on taxes houses, and foreclosure houses. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at 314-782-5555. That's 314-782-5555.
What is the most random thing you are afraid of?
I am terrified of getting a paper cut on my eyeball.
That is pretty random. I'm Larry Mullins, the host of a new podcast, Your Weirdest Fears, where we dig into the weird, the wacky, the things that keep you up at night, and learn how to survive them. Listen and subscribe on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
JRS season is now upon us, and scientists tell us it may be the biggest JRS ever.
Junk reproductive season.
This year, it's even spreading to the Christmas trees.
Is it going to be enough to slow down the magic?
Sarah, nothing can slow down the magic of 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
I knew that. I was just pulling your leg.
We make junk disappear.
All you have to do is point.
And that includes Christmas trees. Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK.
Or visit 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com.
Everyone here knows Diamonds Direct is the place to go for the best diamonds at the best prices. But did you know that savvy buyers from all over America, even Los Angeles and New York, now come here to buy their diamonds? These high-end shoppers have discovered that Diamonds Direct has one of America's best selections of large, rare diamonds, from 3 carats to 20 carats, all certified by the GIA, the most reputable and most trusted gem lab in the world. Because of Diamonds Direct's international connections and tremendous buying power, we're one of only a handful of jewelry stores in America that is able to offer a large selection of rare and precious GIA diamonds. In fact, Diamonds Direct's multi-million-dollar selection includes a stunning array of high-end Riviera necklaces, 20-carat tennis bracelets, and an extraordinary collection of rare, precious gemstones, rubies, sapphires, emeralds, and even the really hard-to-find fancy yellow diamonds. Come see why Diamonds Direct right here is the destination for high-end shoppers all over America. Extraordinary selection, quality, and unmatched value. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion. DiamondsDirect.com.
Hi, this is Ken.
And Laurie Heisey of Heisey Advisory Group. We're dedicated to helping individuals and families work toward their financial goals.
Join us Sundays at 9:30 a.m. for Your Retirement Highway.
Investment advisory services by individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The show, sponsored by Straight Realty, your St. Louis area experts. Why pay more than 4? 314-441-4444.
The greatest radio talk show host ever.
Now, more of the show.
I think I'm winning the Twitter poll. It's
No,
the show.
you are not. Are you really?
Amy Marks Kors
Come
and
on.
Chris Ranji on the Twitter account at the show KMOX.
Mhm.
You need to be following it because, we do fun stuff on it.
Like
at least
polls.
as far as we're concerned. The Twitter poll is this because Amy forced her current boyfriend.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you
Mason
did.
Jar was on board with it. I just brought it to his
I
attention.
think you guilted him into it.
No, Mason Jar would have done what you would have done, which is you just don't notice. You would have walked out
Yeah.
without noticing because you
So here's
pay,
what
you don't look at
happened.
the receipt.
Here's
Okay,
what
set
happened.
the table.
They went to a store. It was a skiing store because they're bougie.
Oh
And
my
they're getting
gosh,
skiing
you're
equipment.
so dumb.
And they both buy things and they leave together. And
Well-
Amy can't let go of the total of his total because she feels like he didn't pay enough.
Well, because he bought more than I did, and my total was significantly
Right, so you
higher
couldn't
than
let it
his.
go.
Well, no, I just thought, well, that
And then
doesn't
you-
sound right.
So you're like, let me see that receipt. And then you looked at the receipt and realized they did not charge him for a $250 coat, which is a pretty significant amount of money.
Yeah, I think it was
And-
a 200, and then with tax, it ended up being like 250 or something.
Whatever.
I don't know,
Okay,
230, yeah.
so 250. And Mason, your boyfriend, goes up and says, you guys forgot to charge me for this coat because he felt guilty because you brought it up to him.
I think he would have done it anyway.
And
That's not the
as
point.
our texter
Yeah.
pointed out earlier, you're in the early relationship stage. So he feels like he has to, all right, I got to go pay for this coat then because she's looking at me and
He doesn't know what stage we're in.
yes, because we've just been talking about your new boyfriend for the last couple of months.
Anyway.
So a texter here says the store would have survived. That means they would have walked out.
I could punch Ranj in the face and he would survive. Doesn't
They have
mean
a
it's the
broken
right
nose,
thing
though.
to do. Right.
Another texter says, I'm with Amy. It's the right thing to do.
It is the right thing to
You're
do.
all idealists, aren't you? So we did put up a poll on Twitter at the show KMOX. asking you what you would do in this situation. You went to a store, you bought a lot of stuff, you realized you walked out, and
They forgot to
they
charge
forgot
you.
to charge you for it.
Yep.
So of the voting so far, 54.6% have said yes, they would go back into the store
Very
and pay
nice.
for it. 45% said nope, they made a mistake. I'm leaving now.
Okay, I have a question. And I know we talked about we said we were going to talk about Joe Biden going to the border, and he did. So anyway, now
So
we've
I
done
guess
it.
we talked
that
about
was
that,
we talked
yeah.
about it, and I wanted to talk about it, but I've got more questions about it. Joe Biden went to El Paso. He met Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott was hurling aspersions at Biden, and again, I mean, the Biden administration. It's been 2 years. It's a crisis, a humanitarian crisis. It needs to be dealt with. He went there, and I do have thoughts that I will share at a different time because the question with the coat here is. Here's a caveat, Ranj. Let's say you do buy something of a $200-ish value. Does it matter to you if it's a locally owned store or a chain? Would that come into play?
Probably.
Really? So you
Probably.
would split hairs.
Yeah.
You
I
would
might.
steal from a chain, but not from a locally owned store.
Because I feel like there's probably been over the course of
Shop
my life
small, steal big. That's the slogan.
A lot of times that I have bought from a store.
Yeah.
And the product was faulty, and I just wound up, I ate it.
Yeah.
Because like I'm not gonna go back and
Sure.
whatever. So it all comes out in the wash. I actually don't know what I would do here. 250 is a lot. Like, okay, there was the time you went and paid for a coconut water that a grocery store forgot to charge you for.
No, what happened was, I'll just tell it quickly. I was at Whole Foods. I had some coconut water while I was shopping. So I drank most of it, but not all of it. And I put my groceries on the checkout conveyor belt.
Yeah.
And I set my coconut water down on the shelf, forgot about it.
Yeah.
And I leave. Oh, like 5 days later, I remember, oh my gosh, you drank that coconut water and set it down on the shelf. You didn't pay for it. So I went back to Whole Foods. I grabbed the exact same coconut water and I said, can you wring this out twice? Because last week I
Yes.
drank one
Yeah.
and didn't pay for it.
I wouldn't have done that probably.
Yeah.
Just because I assume there's been a time where I've eaten like a fruit. I've gotten fruit and the fruit was bad,
Well, that's true.
So this is like, to me, it's fine.
So
$3, whatever.
What's incredible is if they overcharged me by $10 and I got home, I would definitely bring the jacket back. The $10, I'd be like, ugh, I need to do this.
The point is, Mason Jar would have never known if you hadn't been so
He prob-
adamant about
He
it.
probably wouldn't have known because you know how you're on your phone, you're texting, whatever, you check out and you just know like, oh, this is going to hurt. And maybe he didn't hear the total. I heard it. He's walking out and I'm thinking that seems really low.
Yeah, let it go.
And the stuff
Let it
was
go,
on
woman.
sale. It was on sale.
What's the matter with you?
And so I said, hey, I
Ugh.
think that's too low. And he checked his
Yeah.
receipt.
I think we've, again, the most important outcome that you
Mhm.
just did not realize until today is that when you start a relationship with somebody,
Yeah.
every person in a new relationship has two baskets.
Okay.
And every good deed or bad moment is placed into one of the baskets.
Yeah.
It's either I really like that basket, or I'm not so sure about this one basket. There was a big egg
Yeah.
yesterday placed in the, I don't know about this lady
Yeah, but
basket.
well, here's what you're misunderstanding. Here's what you're miscalculating this.
I'm not.
I am a red flag. I'm
Oh.
a giant walking red flag in a
That's true.
blazer.
That's true.
Anybody who talks to me knows immediately this girl
Yeah.
is different.
That's true.
Yeah. So if, I don't know. I don't feel, it's not like I was trying to keep up a persona. That's cooler.
That's true. Yeah, you're not one of those people that had, like Chris Rock used to say, that when you meet somebody ahead
Mhm.
of time, you're meeting their representative.
Yeah.
You're not meeting the real person. You're meeting their representative. You don't have a representative.
I don't have a representative. I represent myself.
Yeah, you're just kind of like this.
Yeah. Because you're like,
This is
oh,
how you
you're
are.
a poser. Oh, really? Why would I pose as this?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Thank you.
It's one of the most brilliant things you've actually ever said. Why
I'm-
would I pose as this?
I'm a brilliant red flag in a blazer.
Oh, God. Brilliant, huh? Anything on this show that you missed on the Odyssey app, go back and listen to the podcast. and you can be with us all the time. Take the show with you wherever you go. Dave Glover's show is coming up next. Amy and I will stick around for that on KMOX.
What if everything you got came with a little bit of money? Spicy chicken ramen with a side of quarters.